You're watching a presentation of the Southeastern Conference on ABC.
The Alabama versus LSU, it's the rivalry of the week.
A big-time game with the season on the line. This is what you live for.
Have pride in this. We the best in the country.
Like anything was possible.
Both teams know what's at stake. They're both going to play with everything they have.
Do not let them into the end zone.
It's going to take grit, determination.
We fight with each other. We fight for each other.
God check who wants it more.
All day. Hey, go Tigers.
This one's going to be on another level.
Roll time.
That Valley on this beautiful Saturday night, it doesn't get no better than that.
Time the Tigers is always special for Jalen Milroe, the ultimate mental test. Tiger Stadium after dark, and both teams facing must-win mode tonight in the SEC race. Garrett Nussmeier looking for a strong bounce back after a rough night against Texas A&M. He's got his playmakers healthy and ready for the challenge of Alabama's defense. Oh, a steamy night in the Bayou, one of the special spots in all of sports. 102,000 ready to get loud and make it tough on the visitors. Welcome to the SEC on ABC. Saturday Night Football, one of the great spots on earth, presented by Capital One, part of Veterans Week, presented by USAA. Here's the backdrop. This is why this game is must-win. Yes, Georgia took a second SEC loss earlier at Ole Miss, but neither LSU at 3-1 or Alabama certainly at 3-2 can afford another loss. The schedule for both opens up after this collision. Who is going to emerge as still a contender in the SEC? Glad you're with us. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe joins us. It's so special when these teams collide. The backdrop of this new 12-team playoff era makes it interesting. I think it's not hype. The loser is in deep trouble. The winner can stay alive, really.
This game's always big. Sometimes it's 1 against 2 or 2 against 4. This year it's not that, but what you just brought up with the 12-team playoff, the fact that neither team can afford to lose a football game, I think it adds even more urgency, even more of an interesting backdrop to who's going to win this game in advance and who's going to lose this game and be done.
These big games are about affecting the opposing quarterback, and it's a challenge for both these guys, Milroe and Nussmeier. Jalen had the look in his eye tonight. He is very, very keyed up. Can he be electric but not mistake-prone?
Yeah, I think that's the big thing for him. He's obviously has the ability to make so many plays. Look what he did last year against this LSU team when they were in Tuscaloosa. He played with so much confidence. This is really when his game started to go to another level. It starts on the ground. You know, if he can start to run the football, it's when I think things open up in the passing game. He's got to avoid feeling like he's got to do everything tonight. On the road, tough environment. To me, it's just start with the operation. No penalties, no false starts. Don't let the crowd take you out of your game. Can you have success early to try to maybe take some of this wild atmosphere, take it down a notch or two? But it's on his shoulders. He's got to deliver. We'll see how he can do.
And a better LSU defense than the one that he ran through a year ago. He knows that. Garrett Nussmeier owning the mistakes he made in that loss to the Aggies. He had 2 weeks to kind of work on what led to them and clean it up tonight.
Yeah, I think this is a guy that has that gunslinger mentality. You and I, we've watched him play a lot this year. Unfortunately, at times, he feels that he's got to make a play. He trusts his arm and his receivers so much. They've worked these last 2 weeks of bringing that down. Just throw it away. Just make the smart play. Play complementary football. He's focused on that. We'll see how he does tonight against Bama's defense.
The backdrop here unmatched. The buildup has been tremendous, and the buzz is absolutely deafening. Glad you're with us for the Tide and the Tigers in this high-stakes collision on the Bayou.
Saturday night in Death Valley.
When darkness descends and the decibels rise, there is simply nothing like Tiger Stadium in Baton Rouge.
This is Death Valley. This is truly a place where opponents' dreams come to die.
Tigers win! Tigers win!
Louisiana Saturday night.
The Nissan pregame drive is next, after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Kickoff coming up in Baton Rouge. This is the nightcap. 2 monster SEC showdowns. Ole Miss was in must-win mode hosting Georgia, and man, did they respond. You know, Jackson Dart threw a pick. They got behind 7-0, and that was it. They kept the Bulldogs out of the end zone. He got a little squirrely for Carson Beck.
He get a little squirrely. Yeah, chase him down, get him down. But this is a game that started off looked like same old Georgia. They're going to be fine. Give Jackson Dart a lot of credit. fought through that injury, got the offense going. The defense played out of their minds, constantly pressuring Carson Beck, coming up with turnovers. Another difficult day for Beck and the Dogs offense. Remember, they lose today, second loss. They play Tennessee next week in Athens.
What a night in Ole Miss. The party in Oxford just getting cranked up. Meanwhile, Miami unbeaten no more. They continue to have problems with Georgia Tech. Haynes King won 100%, but a gritty ground game. They barely threw the ball, and they really led Miami throughout.
But Miami's been flirting with disaster all year with the way they play defense. Cam Ward's been bailing them out. It looked like after this touchdown pass with 6 minutes to go, once again he'd have that chance, but here he is, under 2 minutes, trying to make a play. Nobody open. Give Brent Key and that Georgia Tech team all the credit in the world. They earned this win today over the Canes, and the Canes now have their first loss.
Cam Ward's Heisman chances perhaps taking a hit right there. All right, 2 weeks to get ready for this game. The respective leaders on both defenses, Malachi Moore and Whit Weeks for Alabama and LSU. Let's take you to the practice field and see how they were getting their guys ready.
They get it. They get it. Come on, Rock. Come on, Rock. Come on, Rock. Keep your shoulder pads forward. Wait for it. 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 Good. Hey, 3-5. 3-5. Way to block that intended receiver, man. Hey, get it. Red zone. Red zone. On the hop. On the hop. On the hop. On the hop. Okay.
Base. 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 In.
Take the back, Whit.
Yeah. Hey, come on. 2 more periods. I'll give us a good look.
Weeks and the Bayou Bengals defense hoping to feed up of all this crowd energy. Buckle up and enjoy Alabama and LSU. This has been the Nissan pregame drive. Kickoff is coming up from Baton Rouge after these messages from Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy.
You know the most exciting thing about life? It's how you can change it. How you can reinvent yourself. Take on new challenges. So go ahead, reimagine yourself. We did. Introducing the all-new, reimagined Nissan Kicks.
You're watching Veterans Week coverage on ESPN, brought to you by USAA.
There's a stillness right before it all begins. You can feel it in your bones. But that quiet, it don't stand a chance.
There is nothing like Tiger Stadium when the Crimson Tide come calling.
Tonight, Alabama stepping into Death Valley.
We take over! We take over!
The meanest place in college football.
You take it to them! This is our house!
They don't just want to beat them. They want to break them.
They go for the jugular.
LSU does it! This is why you come to LSU, dog!
But the Tide are built for nights like this.
Touchdown, Alabama! He will score! Unbelievable!
The playoff push is here.
Keep stacking, baby.
Aqua no one!
Alabama, LSU. Now.
The Bayou braces for this. You walk in here, you can smell the butane cooking that gumbo. You can smell the whiskey in the air, I promise you, but it's not just fueled by whiskey. The passion of these fans for this team, it's in their blood, it's in their bones. For generations, it's been like that, and LSU has fed off of this energy. And they haven't lost in this place in 25 months. Brian Kelly has never lost a night game here since he took over as LSU's coach. They are slight home underdogs on home turf. Alabama over the years has been the one team able to come in here and deal with LSU in this environment. As the raindrops begin to fall, Bayou Bengals ready to make their entrance and get this place cranked up.
love coming into these stadiums, getting this access before they come out with over 100,000 to greet them.
If you feel nerves, this is the moment where it's the toughest, isn't it, for these players?
Oh, yeah.
Saying, open that door, let us out of here.
Here they come.
Not just a test for the visitors, Kirk. It's a test of composure for the home team, not to get too caught up in all this.
Absolutely. Bama's been prepping all week for this atmosphere. They know it's coming.
And they have struggled on the road. You recall losing at Vanderbilt, losing in the cauldron of noise at Tennessee. Have they learned from those losses? Can they handle it better tonight? They have to. You know, for decades, even pre-Nick Saban, big, bad Bama came in here and handled all this. They've won 5 of the last 6 night games between these teams. The exception 2 years ago, the overtime dice roll by Kelly and the touchdown by Jaden Daniels in overtime to set up a 2-point try. Death Valley at night. What makes it so special and how they fed off of it? Well, look at the day percentage. It's respectable, but at night, it's just different. Every opponent knows it. The build-up has been tremendous here all day. Game day, get things going in the morning. Look at that winning percentage at night. But Alabama says, you know, bring it on. Can this team do what those teams in the past was able to do, bring the physicality and quiet the people?
We were here 2 years ago when it went into overtime. Mason Taylor made that touchdown to win it from the throw from Jaden Daniels. Look at this. Kind of the tail of the tape.
All-State playoff predictor shows you the importance. With a loss, LSU's chances almost nil, and Alabama not much better.
That puts it, that's great perspective before this ball gets in the air. What's at stake for both these teams?
Let's hear from Kalen DeBoer, his first taste of this rivalry. He's with Holly Rowe.
Well, Coach, knowing that this atmosphere is going to be so crazy and wild, what did you rep all week as far as communication and composure?
Yeah, we worked on the last 2 weeks with our bye. Just understanding what the environment's going to be, understanding how to adapt to it, back and forth with the cadence and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, the weather is part of that too.
Jalen Milroe does well when he gets off to a good start. How do you get him off to that start?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's a combination of QB runs that you call, and then just letting him do his thing. And you know, you want him to use his legs. That helps him get going. But our guys are ready to go make some plays for him too.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And guys, he talked about the communication. When LSU just ran out of the tunnel, it was 113 decibels. That's about as loud as a New York City subway. They are going to change how they play on their cadence. They tried the clap at Tennessee with Jalen Milroe, and they got 3 false start penalties in the first half. They will change things up, and I'll keep you posted when we see it happen.
Great stuff, Holly. Mentioned the light rain that's falling. It's not expected to be really a heavy rain, kind of intermittent light rain throughout, but Kalen DeBoer mentioned it. It's a little bit of a factor. It's a little bit breezy on the byway here tonight, and one more challenge from both sides dealing with this rain. LSU won the toss and, of course, deferred, put that defense out there against Jalen Milroe and the Alabama offense. Aaron Burrell is a true freshman. He'll boot it away, and Emmanuel Henderson Jr. back there to receive it there. Normal kick returner Cole Adams is out for the season. Man, this is special.
I'm just going to sit back and take this one in. Man. And this gets the blood flowing right here.
Oh, yeah. All of Burrell's boots usually end up just like that, out of the end zone. And here comes Jalen Milroe. Those 6 interceptions, one with his 13 touchdown passes. Can they get him going? The bye week, Kirk, to add some wrinkles. They hope it'll have the same effect as it did against Georgia when they had 2 weeks to get ready for that big showdown at home, though.
Yeah, at home, a little bit different here. I think Kalen DeBoer gave you a little bit of an insight to what they're going to try to do tonight when he talked to Holly, and that's get his legs involved early. They want him to settle into this game, and the best way to do that is let him run the football.
In their 2 losses, they could not get that running game going at all. Jan Miller, part of the tailback tandem. And there's a flag and a flinch already.
That's the challenge. That's the challenge.
So left tackle, Caden Proctor.
And that's forget the XOs. That's the story of the game. Last year against Texas A&M and Kyle Field, they had 9 false starts. Earlier this year in Knoxville, they struggled to deal with that crowd, and here they are before they can get their first snap. They're behind the sticks, 1st and 15 with movement.
First and 15 handoff to Miller, who plows ahead for about a yard. They're the impact players in this showdown. Savion Jones made to stop that time.
There Jam Miller, you see these backs. See a couple. Haynes will be in there as well. Ryan Williams, spectacular true freshman. They'll try to get him isolated. Brandon Swinson off the edge. 4 really good matchup on the edge against these tackles and Whit Weeks. What an impact he's had the last 4 or 5 weeks for the LSU defense. Flying around, number 40 in the middle.
This is so crucial to get something out of this 2nd and 14 and not face a 3rd and long right away.
Miller trying to communicate. Play clock down at 5.
Low snap, he collects it, immediately is on the run, trying to stay alive and hurls it along the sidelines, and left alone is Ryan Williams, who collects it and has a 4th down out near the 40.
That's all Jalen Milroe. You're pulling the guard this way. Watch how easy it is. He's down. There's right there. There's 2 guys. That's the athletic ability in the defense. What are they doing? They have their eyes in the backfield. That was Major Burns, number 8, the safety in the flat. Instead of looking around trying to find a receiver, he's watching Jalen Milroe. Receiver Williams able to get away from coverage.
Everybody knows that on both sides, the start is so crucial for Jalen Milroe. On the end around, this is Kendrick Law, and he's stopped right at the line of scrimmage. Play made by Zy Alexander. Focus on this Alabama offensive line. They're a very talented group, but you said they've been mistake-prone in some big moments as well.
Yeah, and I think the edges, Pritchett and Proctor, they've had moments where they've played well, and they've had moments where they've struggled. It'll be a big challenge for them, not just the crowd, not being able to really have a good feel when that ball's being snapped, but the strength of LSU up front, the edges of Swinson and Jones.
One of the better teams at pressuring the quarterback, an aggressive approach from Blake Baker. 2nd and 10, handoff. And another short gain for Jan Miller. It'll set up a 3rd down and long again.
Well, they're trying to, a couple times they try to run the football on the inside, trying to get movement on the interior. You know, what you do is you take a double team and you hope that double team wins, then you climb up to the linebacker. Problem is, what Blake Baker's doing, these guys are winning at the point of attack. They can't climb up to the backers.
Williams off to the left, watched by Zy Alexander. Tigers don't bring pressure, a 3-man rush, ball out quickly, catch made by Law, who splits defenders and dives into LSU territory for a 1st down.
Great blocks out there out in front of him. That was very important. Quick throw, like the decision on 3rd down. They only rushed 3. You got 8 defenders there. Great blocks downfield, and what acceleration. It's good to see Kendrick Law healthy. Got dinged up against Georgia, hadn't been at 100%. Now he's closer, and you can see the acceleration after the catch.
It's Justice Haynes in a tailback. They'll rotate Haynes and Miller. Milroe looking to throw, now finds it out of the backfield. Haynes has some space, and he picks up about 9 before Alexander got him down.
One of the dangers when you're defending this offense, Jalen Milroe, is this right here. If you peek into the backfield and respect their run game, you worry about Jalen Milroe, now you're lost. Now you're lost with your back turned, and it makes it very easy. Good decision by Milroe to check that down in this space.
3 for 3, he's in rhythm early, and on 2nd and short, easy conversion. Swinson making the stop for the Tide. Exactly what they hoped for, despite that penalty before they even snapped the ball the first time.
Yeah, this crowd is into it. You made a great point about the start. Anybody who comes in here, it's always about having a quarterback that can handle that first snap before they even get a first snap. They had a false start, 1st and 15. Able to overcome that, convert on a 3rd down, and now in plus territory.
8th play of this opening drive. It's a keeper. Milroe follows the back. Milroe explodes to the secondary. Race for the end zone. Touchdown, Tide. What a start. 39 yards. Electric run. Shades of what he did to him a year ago.
Whew. Well, just like that, and you got to focus on this block right here on the left side by Tyler Booker. Watch him get up, push that defensive lineman down another level. Linebacker blitzes, a little bit of pressure right here, actually took himself right out of the play, and then he just uses that speed. Had 155 yards, we talked about in the open last year with 4 rushing touchdowns, and what a start again for Jalen Milroe.
Efficient passing, explosive running. It was really an 80-yard drive because they were backed up after the penalty, but they take it to the house. 39 yards in Alabama, making Tiger Stadium a little bit quieter for now. Bayou Bengals' first possession coming up.
Well, what a way to start this game for Jalen Milroe in Alabama. Great job here on that zone read, and if you're defending him, you better hustle on that backside. That's just a natural feel as a runner. The fastest guy on this team, and there's Nick Sheridan, the play caller. Let's go! I mean, how fired up is he on that first series? That's how you get a game started right there.
Came with DeBoer from Washington. Connor Tulty's boot is taken by Xavier Thomas at the goal line. Slips a tackle. Thomas has got speed and is still moving out near midfield. They finally angle him out of bounds, but a great start for Garrett Nussmeier and the offense after a 50-yard return.
He is so dangerous when he has a chance to get his hands on the football. The transfer out of Mississippi State. As a receiver, he's a guy, kind of a scat back. You want to get him in space. You can see what he can do as a returner, man. What a great job of giving LSU tremendous field position. He'll go out of bounds right at midfield.
Here's Garrett Nussmeier. Strong arm quarterback, elite arm talent. First year as a starter, 2-year backup, of course, to the Heisman winner, Jaden Daniels. Says, I own those mistakes, and I'm very good at turning the page and bouncing back, and he'll be tested in that department tonight. Looking to throw on 1st down. Pressure comes, and the ball's fired into the Crimson Tide bench. Here's the impact players when LSU has the football.
I'm going to start with Caden Durham. LSU needs to be able to get their running game going. He is a big factor, the true freshman. Great group of receivers led by Kyron Lacey. He'll look to get isolated and make one-on-one plays against these corners from Alabama. Jihad Campbell is athletic as anybody in the SEC. And Q Robinson will provide pressure. Probably their best pass rusher, 34, and kind of an unsung hero of this Bama defense.
Chris Hilton and C.J. Daniels, important parts of the receiving room, back healthy tonight as Durham gets the first carry, running right through a crease. Look out! Caden Durham finally forced out of bounds at the 5-yard line as the freshman sets up LSU.
But it starts by being able to set the edge, and you're going to get that right here on the edge by Mason Taylor. Good job of getting his body turned. Now you get up to the next level. You got to have receivers. One right there, Aaron Anderson. Good job by 4, C.J. Daniels. We just talked about the impact that Caden Durham could have on this game. He gets his hands on the ball with some good blocks, and boy, does he accelerate for a young player.
Devontae Smith got an arm on him. That's never going to be enough to bring down Caden Durham. So what a response by this offense. Set up at the 50, now at the 5-yard line. Nussmeier rolling, scanning the end zone, flips it back, and it's incomplete. Tried to go up high to get it to Fredez Green, the 6'7" tight end.
Yeah, a lot of people have talked about LSU. They need to become more balanced. They got to be able to run the football. Caden Durham has taken over as the featured back, but not a lot of people know that over the last few weeks he's had a steel plate in his cleat, and he's had to try to overcome some dislocated toes. That's his shoe that he's been playing with. That plate is now out, so he's got a lot more lateral quickness and back to being closer to 100%, and boy, did he look good on that run there to get this game started.
Longest run Bama has allowed this season. So 2nd and goal. Play clock's already down at 3. And they have to spend a timeout. The operation a little bit slow getting out of the huddle that time. Holly?
Well, Kirk, you're talking about those two dislocated toes against South Alabama. It's been incredibly painful for Caden Durham, but this is the first game he's playing without the steel plate in his shoe. But as you saw that picture of the shoe, he is still playing with a fiberglass dipped cleat. These are sometimes what pitchers use. I see it in softball. We see it in MLB where they dip the toe of the cleat in fiberglass. It provides a harder surface, so if he gets stepped on or tied up in the offensive line traffic, it does not impact those dislocated toes. He looked fresh. The coaches warned us he would be, and they were right.
Yeah, he looked right there.
All these guys, a little extra bounce. You get off a bye week, a chance to get off your feet and come back ready to run.
He's tough. I mean, he's proven that over these last few weeks imagine playing with dislocated toes as a running back.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah. Well, an opportunity to answer.
Got 6 offensive linemen. Josh Williams, the 210-pounder, is to the left of Nussmeier on 2nd and goal. He's going to try to bounce it, and he's going to end up fighting hard just to get back to the line of scrimmage. Justin Jefferson, middle linebacker, got there in a hurry.
They did a nice job. It's so tough when Bama's able to rotate bodies in the interior. Tough to get any movement at all. You got a backup guard in Paul Mubinga playing at left guard. In for Dellinger, and no push at all there.
One of the big moments here early in this game. Can LSU answer? Can the Tide force a field goal attempt? Been stout red zone defense so far this season. Slant, bobble, incomplete. Broken up nicely. Lacey was there, but Jihad Campbell, the do-everything linebacker, was in coverage at 4th down.
It's great that you said do everything. He can blitz. He can pressure the quarterback. He set the edge on the last play, and now he's out in space trying to make a play against their best receiver, and he does. Guy is a physical freak. Number 11, Crimson.
From New Jersey, went to IMG Academy. It's been a problem for LSU. Damian Ramos was normally reliable, but they made 1 of 4 potential field goals at A&M. He missed 2, and they had that bad snap. You want to get this operation cleaned up. Ramos sneaks it inside the left upright. So LSU had the great field position, settles for 3, 7-3 Alabama. Some early fireworks here on the Bayou. Man, Kirk, all across the college football landscape, there's been such an outpouring of love, celebration of the 10 great years of your buddy Ben.
Yeah, it was a tough week, obviously, and he's been a big part of our lives for our family. And what was cool is I think America got to feel his love, and I think that's a billboard in the area right on I-10. College football, he kind of became college football's mascot, and I think everybody kind of felt what he was about. And I just want to say thank you to so many people. The outreach has been amazing. Family, friends, people, on social media. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for just embracing Ben and kind of understanding what his spirit was all about.
Yeah, special soul, and you'll always have him with you.
Yep.
I'm sure any animal lover, pet owner can feel a bit of what you felt this week. And
oh yeah.
Thanks for sharing him with all of us for the last.
Yeah. He's been everywhere, and you guys have been great. I mean, he just kind of became part of the crew these last few years.
You'll miss him. What a start from Milroe. That 39-yard run tied him with Jalen Hurts, the Alabama quarterback rushing touchdown record, 13 and counting from Milroe. Will there be more tonight? Will they have an answer for him?
Well, Blake Baker, the defensive coordinator, got there on the sideline. Remember, last time we had these guys a couple weeks ago was Marcel Reed. Athletic quarterbacks have given them a problem. Lenora Sellers, South Carolina, same thing. So they got to make some adjustments and take these legs away.
Milroe on the move, flips it in the flat. Catch made by Miller, and he's got a head start and able to outrace Gilbert to the sidelines for a nice chunk.
When this offense is going and Jalen Milroe is playing, he's kind of wheeling and dealing. We talked in the open. Cohen DeBoer told Holly Rowe, and we're going to continue to talk about it. His legs set everything up. It gets him into that groove. It gets him to feel confident. And most importantly, it gets LSU's linebackers and defensive backs worried about him running, and it opens up some passing opportunities.
Miller cuts it back, And knocked down after a 2-yard gain. Yeah, you always say the start is important for anybody who comes in here, but it's just Milroe's makeup. If he can build on early confidence and get in a flow, he can be really, really tough to stop. Georgia found that out.
Yeah. You know, any quarterback, but with his skill set, I think it's amplified. And I think for a guy that's played in so many big games, the moment's never too big for him. But by starting fast, you don't have to press to make plays.
Trying to make a play here to get the drive going on 3rd and 3. And some confusion, it looked like. But Milroe just cleans it up, pulls the ball, gets the edge, and moves the sticks.
I think that was a run all the way. He just wanted Jam Miller to get out in front of him and provide that edge. And that's what he got. It looks like it's a little hesitant, but you'll see he gets out in front. Then it kind of starts to show a fake, just gets off of it. Now it's a foot race to get to the corner and try to pick up that first down. He's able to get that easily.
Both backs, Miller and Haynes, good blockers, and that's an important piece of the quarterback run game too. On 1st down from the pocket, checks it down again. Miller on the edge. Man, Kirk, they've got some easy access yards to these backs so far. Holly, what do you have?
Well, guys, after that tough start at Tennessee with the crowd noise, they've changed their operation tonight. You can see Jalen Milroe signal the offense to start with his knee. Then the left guard taps the center. This is different. He was using the clap, but it was not effective.
Keeper again, Milroe. Oh, man, if you're out there on the edge trying to make a play, it was Gilbert. That's your heart's in your mouth.
No doubt about that. Give credit to Nick Sheridan. Look at it. You got 3 receivers. They're giving this look. Nobody's able to set the edge on the defense. He's going to read that. He's going to just pull it. Look, there's nobody outside. And that's a no-no against any quarterback, let alone against Jalen Milroe. So the formation moves the defense to the field, and he ends up running back towards that edge there of that defense where nobody's able to contain him.
Different snapper here. Gino Vandemark is in. Parker Brailsford lost his helmet and has to come out for a play. Tied on the move again in LSU territory. Quick throw again. It's a screen, but Jeremy Bernard is going to be trapped behind the line by Zaya Alexander, their best DB.
Ryan Williams, who was trying to make a block there, did not have a chance. That trips formation we just saw, they went right back to it. But Zaya Alexander, watch how quickly he shoots. Like he fires there. As soon as that ball was snapped, he was already making a move. Ryan Williams didn't have a chance.
Brailsford back in the game. Milroe from the pocket delivers complete. Taking a hit, but holding on was Ryan Williams there. His second catch. Gilbert tried to knock the ball loose. Couldn't. It'll be 3rd and short. Tide lining up fast.
Yeah, pretty good push up the middle, but Milroe, good focus downfield. Great throw.
Haynes dragging with Weeks for just enough to move the sticks again to the 37.
How physical is that inside? These linebackers are flying downhill in this short yardage. Watch the left tackle Proctor get up to Burns, who is collapsing down. Good job of anticipating those backers and safeties firing down.
Milroe up, changing the play. Plenty of time on the clock when it's 1st and 10. Pitch to the edge. The ball was deflected. That was Weeks coming up there, got a hand on it.
He's become one of the better blitzing linebackers in the SEC. Able to get his forearm on that ball, not his hand. But good job of timing that. Boy, he plays with so much energy. Feel like the defense feeds off of any great linebacker, and Weeks has become that here in the second half of the season.
Got one of the best pressure rates in the country. In other words, when he rushes, he gets home a lot and makes the quarterback feel his effect. That's the first incompletion for Milroe tonight. Flag down, and Milroe falls forward after about 6. The flag came out of the line of scrimmage. Sean Womack made the stop. Ken Williamson in charge of this crew.
Some movement on the LSU side. Looks like they're going to get him. I think it was Womack.
Offside. Defense number 15. Line up in the neutral zone. 5-yard penalty. It remains 2nd down.
Just a mental mistake.
He's trying to get a little bit of a He's right here. He's trying to get a little bit of a head start. See what kind of athletic ability he has.
Looking in the backfield, not the football.
Right. Blake Baker, a good look at him, the defensive coordinator. Milroe already 51 yards on the ground in 2 series.
2nd and 5. Milroe flips it back. It's a screen. And Miller has got some space, and he scoots down to the 11-yard line. The backs have been killing LSU out of the backfield so far.
Well, the motion is really a big part of what they do here because they're selling this to the field. And now look at this defense. Most of them are flying this way, and you end up just timing this up perfectly. Good job by Milroe being patient, not selling it too early. He sold it to the right, let the defense move with him, and then baited them, and then perfectly dumps that back to Miller for big yards. Boy, he is playing well right now.
It's 4 receptions for the running backs already. First down, Milroe picks his way patiently down to the 6 before Weeks got him down.
Nick Sheridan deserves, I think, an assist as well, because right now they are perfectly balanced with their play calling. Pre-snap movement again with Ryan Williams. This defense, that 2nd and 3rd level, their eyes are being challenged with what Nick Sheridan's throwing at them. Pre-snap movement, personnel groupings, motions, a quarterback that can run, that can throw. It's a lot to deal with. And Milroe's being patient. He's not forcing anything, just kind of managing this offense.
Keeper again, escapes, and now flips it over the head of Jeremy Bernard. That was pure improvisation. He did avoid the loss and sets up a 3rd and 5 now.
Yeah, that's a quarterback run all the way. He's trying to run that football as a quarterback counter. I mean, you got linemen pulling to the left. That's a QB counter. He somehow gets out of that, gets off of Jones, and then decides to throw the football.
It was one of those red zone plays that amounts to a 4-point play. Alabama trying to jump up by 11 here in the 1st quarter. Get a first down at the 2. Milroe across the middle, caught. Miller stopped short. It'll be 1st and goal. Another completion to a tailback.
It's almost like an option route out of the backfield. It's a one-on-one matchup with Miller against Weeks, and too much space there for Weeks to stop that.
Bama trying to quickly line up and punch it in. It's Miller again. No, he got submarined by Weeks, who just dove at his legs that time. Second long drive, a grinding 14-play march, almost 6.5 minutes. 3 tight ends in the game now on 2nd and goal. Remember how loud it was about 10 minutes ago?
Yeah.
This is the loud end. The students trying to make it tough on the Tide at this end of the field. And time running out. Kalen DeBoer shows some quick skits out on the field and spends the first time out. Tide on the doorstep, trying to build an early lead here in Baton Rouge. Crimson Tide in control at the moment. They've controlled the football, controlled the line of scrimmage. Great control, command, confidence shown by Milroe. They've converted 3 third downs on this drive and now stand on the doorstep and 2nd and goal. Justice Haynes trying to drive those legs, dove near the goal line, and touchdown is signaled from the near side. So Justice Haynes caps off a drive that really belonged to his buddy Jam Miller.
Boy, they'll take a peek to make sure that play was stopped. Savion Jones had it stopped. Weeks was there to help out, but Haynes just kept powering his feet. Somehow he gets underneath that defensive front. He ends up on the other side of it. They had him completely stoned at the line of scrimmage.
Crowd not convinced they saw the football break the plane. Of course, looking at this right now.
Touchdowns. That previous play is under review.
Of course, they'll review this potential scoring play. John Allman is the replay official. Bill, what could they see that might overturn the call of touchdown?
Well, from the angles that we're seeing right now, I don't see a body part down. There's a forearm starting to come down, but I can't find the football.
Well,
there's a good look right there. Yeah, ball's here.
Short.
Yeah, that's...
Forearm makes him down, of course.
Yes.
Enough, Bill, to take the touchdown off the board,
yes.
Make it third and a few
inches. To me, that's indisputable video evidence.
And if that's true, that's going to bring up another third down. You said 3 for 3 on this drive, 4 for 4 in the game. And another opportunity possibly to face another third down. Boy, LSU had him stopped at the line of scrimmage. Savion Jones, he kind of won his battle. And I thought it was going to be, watch this penetration. Watch him just kind of stone at tight end. He works him into that backfield. And I thought, okay, that play's not going anywhere. And he just kept moving his feet. Didn't give up on it and almost put it in the end zone. Two great backs. You look at the way they complement each other. Similar as far as their physique and how they run the football. Jam Miller can catch the ball. We've seen that tonight out of the backfield. Haynes coming off his best game so far of his brief career. 8 for 79, averaged almost 10 yards a carry against Mizzou.
How about the run, Kirk, where he just ran right over a Tiger defender, knocked him over, and then kept running. The yards after contact is strong for both of these guys.
Boy, those two together, it looked like your workout program there with 22 with your arms.
Easy. Hey, Bill, can we get this operation going? I mean, how long does it take to see what you saw in 15 seconds? I mean, John Allman still under the hood there. And our guess is they'll move it back a few inches away.
After further review, ruling on the field stands.
Okay, or they could let it stand. You called it clear evidence. Brian Kelly not buying it, so it is a touchdown for Justice Haynes and a second long touchdown drive for Alabama.
And there you have it.
15 plays. 7 minutes and 4 seconds. You cannot be more impressive on offense in this environment than Alabama has been in this first quarter as a visitor.
23 plays, 150 yards, 11 minutes, time of possession. That's how you get this game started in Death Valley. I think Kalen DeBoer has the Crimson Tide ready for this environment, at least so far. Long way to go.
Nicholson makes it 14-3, longest drive of the year for the Tide in terms of number of plays. Let's check in with our buddy Kevin Nagandi for an update.
Chris, time now for our Dr. Pepper Fansville studio update. Number 7, Tennessee. They got Georgia next Saturday. Tonight, it's Mississippi State here, Boog. Nico Iamaleava with the big pass.
Classic game you can look over, but Tennessee is not. This is the part of the offense they got to get going, the downfield passing game.
Dante Thornton Jr. with the big catch and score. Right now, 14-0 Volunteers. Back to Chris, Kirk, and Ollie.
Tennessee trying to get to 5-1 in the conference. They're going to walk into Athens and face an ornery, fired up Georgia team, which will be in must-win mode of their own.
Oh yeah, that's good. I think that makes that game next week even more interesting. Like tonight, kind of that elimination game. LSU, they had the big kickoff return, started their first drive at midfield, had a nice run by Caden Durham, and other than that, that's all we've seen from LSU so far. But I've been to Death Valley too many times. This game can turn any moment.
Absolutely. Xavier Thomas from the 2, and that explosive return the first time. This time he doesn't get around the left end, and he's going to be knocked down at the 17-yard line. Our Modelo playbook brought to you so far to look at Milroe.
Yeah, let's look at Jalen Milroe. If you're just tuning in, he's off to a great start. This is a opening drive where it looked like there was some pressure there on second long. He gets the ball out to Ryan Williams. He has shown tremendous patience, dumping it down to Jam Miller. Huge yards down that left sideline, kind of that delayed running back screen, and there's the run to start this game. Probably the fastest player on this Alabama team. Just like last year, a big run to get the game started.
LSU trying to get things started. They've run just 5 plays so far. We've got 2 minutes to go in the quarter. Nussmeier looking for his first completion. Hands it up to Durham, who bowls ahead for about 7. Rain picking up, it looks like, at this point.
Alabama's smart to get that lead, because if you do look at the forecast, I mean, this could be just the beginning of some rain, potentially heavy rain throughout this game.
Most of the folks came prepared.
And some don't care.
Exactly. Some are numb.
right.
Durham knocked down a yard short, not just numb by the pregame preparations, but what they've seen here. Visitors don't come into Tiger Stadium and start throwing haymakers and build 11-point leads after the first quarter very often.
I'll tell you what I'm seeing right now is an Alabama team at times this year. Think about the way they played early against Georgia, the way they played against Vanderbilt. You know, a lot of people were very critical of Kalen DeBoer in Alabama. Well, I don't know what this team has done to prepare, but their motivation, their focus has been tremendous so far on both sides of the ball.
Pitch to Durham, and he'll fight and barely make the first down at the 26. Like the Georgia game, again, 2 weeks to get ready, and I think DeBoer felt great about that, putting in some stuff that LSU hadn't seen on offense.
Yeah, and that's true, but I'm just talking about the physicality and just coming in with a purpose of winning the line of scrimmage and playing downhill on this side of the football.
Really see the rain picking up. Nussmeier on the move, and there is his first completion, and it's Mason Taylor, the reliable tight end, one of his best buddies in the team. Picks up about 7.
Yep. Always good to get Mason Taylor involved. 6'5", 255, was lined up on that left side of the offense. They kind of hid him with that action and then got him out to that right flat for positive yards.
LSU trying to fight back, down 11 at the end of the first quarter here in Baton Rouge. Jalen Milroe has been electric and efficient. You're watching the SEC on ABC. Set for the second quarter in rainy Baton Rouge, the SEC on ABC. Saturday Night Football presented by Capital One. Moments ago, Holly with Brian Kelly.
Coach Kelly, you plan all week to stop the quarterback run, and Jalen Milroe hurt you there. How do you adjust quickly?
Yeah, I mean, he bounced it all the way back in the C gap. We got to have better layers. We overran it, you know, obviously, and the safety's got to be there. But, you know, we got to get off the field. We had a couple of third downs in the first series that we just didn't execute very well. And then in the second series, we get the back inside. We just got to settle down on defense. We're just a little bit too out of our zone. Coach has got him on his side, and we'll settle down a little bit. We got to sustain a drive here right now and get some points on the board.
Thank you, Coach.
Deontay Lawson says you're not going to sustain anything. He smacked Durham behind the line of scrimmage, sets up a third down and 4 now, Kirk.
Yeah, another play that really amplifies the attitude that Alabama's playing with, and how fitting from the veteran, the leader, Lawson there. Read that play perfectly. Slow developing counter. Lineman slow to get around in this weather, but Lawson played it, read it, made a nice play.
Mason Taylor slot left. Lacey is to the far right on this third down play. Play clock at 3. And again, the operation may be a little slow. The importance of this play, already down 11, and they'll spend their second time out of the half.
The coaches on the LSU sideline not happy. They're trying to, you know, it's like being in a boxing match. You prepare, you come out, you're ready to go out, and all of a sudden, boom, you take it right in the nose, and you go back to the corner man. They're trying to get you back to kind of recalibrate. That's what Brian Kelly's doing right now with Nussmeier and his football team. This play I wanted to just show you. A really good illustration of how Alabama's reading it, and you put 11 and 0 together. They do such a good job of communicating, seeing their keys, and playing fast. And Lawson's an impressive guy. When you sit down and talk to him before a football game, he's played in so many of these big games in the SEC, and he knows that they've had a couple setbacks, sitting there at 6 and 2, and he is leading the way by example. Not an overly talkative guy, but leads by example, sets the tone for this football team.
Lawson and Campbell share the team lead with 66 tackles. One guy from Mobile, one guy from Jersey. Strong in the middle. Tigers need 4 here. Taylor now to the far left. Lacey's also on that side. Ty brings some pressure. Nussmeier steps up, a long throw over the head of Lacey, a low percentage throw in the sidelines here, and LSU will have to punt.
Yeah, give Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator, a lot of credit there. And you see this NFL and college, show one look, pre-snap, looks like pressure, and they end up bringing it, but they dropped the pressure off the edge. And I think they fooled Garrett Nussmeier there. Just nobody underneath for the easy throws, so he had to take a chance, go over the top. Tough to do on 3rd and long.
Ryan Williams, the electric freshman, back to receive the punt. Blake Oschendorf. They do adjust again with Cole Adams, their returner and receiver, now lost for the season. Not a bad backup to throw back up there. And Williams, with his skills, not terribly experienced as a returner. It's a line drive kick. He'll field it. Williams had a gap. Ryan Williams accelerates, spins, and is finally brought down in LSU territory. He is really, really good at that spin move at high speed, isn't he?
Oh, my gosh. Accelerated, too. As soon as he caught that punt, there's nobody there. He got upfield in a hurry.
The line drive didn't give the guys a chance to get down there, and a 28-yard return. Bama up 11, set up in LSU territory now. And before the game, the big reveal. This is not Mike 7, the official LSU mascot. This is a guy called Omar Bradley. After the general. It was the governor's idea to bring him in here. It's kind of an old school thing. They used to have Tiger on the sidelines quite frequently. Deep shot, and just off the hands of Williams. He had Zaya Alexander beat. Nice ball, just a foot too far.
What a time to call this shot. Maximum protection, and you end up getting one-on-one. And this is one of the fastest, most gifted receivers in the country. What an effort there. You see the rain coming down. Take a shot on 1st and 10 in plus territory. I love how he put the ball up in the air to give Williams a chance with that speed to try to get up underneath it. Just couldn't hold on.
Second down handoff, Miller. All those electric downfield plays, of course, the one that eventually provided the winning points against Georgia. It's tapered off recently, Kirk, in recent weeks. They haven't been able to connect quite as frequently on those downfield shots. Teams trying to take it away.
Yeah, they do, and you don't have 3 or 4 or 5 Alabama receivers right now with the offense and where they are. You have 2, mainly Ryan Williams, and you have Jeremy Bernard as well, but it's an offense that relies on him. Defensive, obviously, trying to take his big play ability away.
Kelly told Holly, got to get off the field on defense. It's a 3rd and 9 here.
Big opportunity. Crowd has been taken out of this game until this 3rd down.
Milroe running out of play clock, and we'll have to spend a timeout. Tried to make those adjustments, and DeBoer spends the first of his timeouts. Well, we talked about the environment being one of the key components, the weather part of that, and Alabama just came out and said, we're going to show you what we've been working on for 2 weeks, and we're going to show you how much resolve and grit and composure we have, and it's been impressive.
Man, so impressive, the attitude that they came into this game with. And Chris, they started this game. They got the ball first. False start. Crowd was so loud. They're 1st and 15. You're thinking, uh-oh, hold on to yourself. Since then, they have flatlined Death Valley. I mean, now it's 3rd down. The crowd's going to get back into it, but give Alabama a lot of credit. It's a 4-quarter game, 60-minute game. A lot of things can happen to get LSU back in this game, but the way it started and the intent that Alabama has played with on both sides of the ball and special teams has been so impressive.
I do want to ask you what they could do to get the pass game going if they can get the ball back here. Tied 4 for 4, but this is the biggest challenge so far. LSU not really showing pressure. Now backing out. Milroe makes his adjustments. Plenty of time on the clock.
Weeks typically comes create one-on-one up front.
Still a 4-man rush, and on the slant, Miller out of the backfield. Another catch, another first down. He's been automatic on these 3rd downs.
But we talked about the blitz, and when you bring the blitz here, you're going to create space behind it. Look at Milroe's patience. Waits. Nobody underneath. Did such a nice job of showing the experience. Wasn't intimidated to thinking about Swinson from the left edge. They're now 5 of 5 on 3rd down. And I'll tell you, Jalen Milroe talked about running the ball to get into that zone. He sure is there right now with his decision making.
Instead of getting off the field, LSU's got to try to, tackle these Alabama running backs. Downhill run by Miller. Sage Ryan, the star, kind of get trucked there.
Parker Brails, again, I'm using examples to show what Alabama's doing as far as just showing up with it with a purpose. Here's Brailsford to center. Look at that block right there. See how he turned his body, drives him into the ground. I mean, that's sending a message. After a conversion on 3rd down, you come right back and you take that nose guard, you drive him into the ground, open up a nice lane.
Haynes trying to get around the left edge, and he's going to be dragged down by Greg Penn after a short game. 3rd down again coming up.
Kind of talking glowingly about Alabama, because how can you not, right? So what does LSU have to do? LSU right now with Blake Baker there, the defensive coordinator. If you're going to you're going to win this football game. You're going to have a chance to come back. This is where Greg Penn or Whit Weeks or Braden Swinson, like, your playmakers, your leaders.
Who's got Cam Miller? Who's going to cover 26? That's been the problem on 3rd down.
He's been coming out of the backfield, but I'm just saying, you got to get a turnover. You got to make a play. Somebody's got to step up.
Alabama's going to have to spend another timeout here. They're still in the huddle with 4 in the play clock. That's important. DeBoer knows, already building a lead. Can you step on the neck of the Bayou Bengals here by punching it in again? 3rd and 3 when you come back.
Saturday Night Football is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? In part by the all-new Sonic Queso Smashers. Live free, eat Sonic. And USAA. Let's honor those who serve this Veterans Day.
Jalen Milroe has great appreciation for the military. His dad, Quentin, was in the Marine Corps, served in Iraq. Mom, Lola, was in the Navy. The military discipline is how they've run their household, and they said, we taught our son to play with honor and that the mission is always bigger than himself.
That's great stuff. He's very proud of both of his parents, obviously. Needs 3 to keep the drive going, and a pre-snap flag. And that's the first kind of misfire they've had since the very first moment of this game.
Offense number 87.
Denny Lewis.
5-yard penalty.
Tight end on the left there. Had 3 tight ends in the game.
It's going to make it 3rd and 8. It's essentially costly. They're not in field goal range. It'd be easy for Nicholson here, especially in these rainy conditions. So they need to get closer to have a chance. Even if they can't make the 8 for the first down.
They've been right around 3rd and 5 most of the night. And they're 5 for 5, like you said, so far.
4-man rush. Milroe has time, launches downfield, and just over the head of Emmanuel Henderson, who had Alexander beat by a step. Again, they don't pick up anything, and it's 4th down. Not really great position for Nicholson to try a field goal.
No, they're playing man-to-man coverage with no support. I mean, this is just who's going to win that battle. He's able to keep that safety in the middle of the field, used his eyes to keep him over there. That's Sage Ryan, one-on-one. He got on top of him. They just missed a throw.
You're going to send him out there. He did kick a 52-yarder. That's the distance here at Miami of Ohio when he was the Lou Groza Award winner as the top kicker last year. Hasn't made a kick this long so far for the Tide. 52 to make this a 14-point game, and a whistle and a flag before the snap. They take too much time. Oh, wow.
5-yard penalty. No 4th down.
That is tough. Jay Nunez is the special teams coordinator.
You saw Kalen DeBoer frustrated. Now he says, let's punt it. I mean, you're up 14-3 in Death Valley. You'd love to take a field goal shot. And if the circumstances were different, you'd probably take a shot here. Oh, he's frustrated. Punt it. The way your defense is playing, try to pin them.
Yeah, it's been sluggish. I think both sides, the operation hasn't been that crisp. Whether it's the rain, the noise, whatever, the pressure of the game.
Yeah, two false start penalties back-to-back takes them out of field goal range. So everything's been flawless up to that point.
Unlike LSU, Burnip does give Alabama elite punting. And this one checks up pretty nicely and rolls dead at the 10-yard line. So on a rainy night, LSU is going to be backed up from there, but still down only 11. State Farm Champions Classic Tuesday night in Atlanta. *1 Kansas taking on the Spartans. Then the exclusive reveal of the second edition of the CFP rankings, 8:30. Reese, you and company. Oh, you're not?
I retired from that.
Oh.
Yeah. It'll be Boog. And,
is that congratulations or condolences? I think we know the answer.
Joseph Scott Galloway, Boog. And,
oh, they got it covered. They got it.
Yeah, they got it.
Got to be careful here. It looks like the rain has let up. That's good news for Nussmeier as they begin from the 10. Play fake. Steps up, fires down the middle. A beautiful throw and a catch by Mason Taylor. And they're backed up no longer. Desperately needed downfield play. Picked up 26.
Yeah, it's a good job here. Been able to try to get behind these linebackers. Hit between the safety and the corner. Seam route. Ball has to be thrown on a line. And how dangerous of a weapon is Mason Taylor when he can get into that seam like that with the length at 6'5".
They wanted to target him more and earlier than did against the Aggies. End around here. Xavier Thomas has the edge, accelerates and is pushed out near first down yardage at the 45. He got 12 more. It is a first.
Mubinga, this is a key for a linebacker. When you see a guard pull this way, the linebacker's reading the guard. When he pulls, he moves that way. Now it comes back the other way. It gives you great blocking angles. And once he got outside of Malachi Moore, he had plenty of room there to get good yards. It's a false key there for the linebacker.
Play fake again on first down. They pitch it back underneath to Williams. Josh Williams, some rhythm. And this LSU passing game finally clicking now. Another first down at the 35. More good blocks up front.
Now they did it again. Another false key. Pulled the guard again. Make those linebackers a little hesitant. And this time they go to the screen with a convoy out in front. This feels like LSU here now. Now they're being more aggressive.
Nussmeier, who started 0 for 4, 3 straight completions now. Again, play fake and a throw in first down. Long looping throw, put it in harm's way, and going to break it up was Aaron Anderson, because Xavier Brown, the freshman who made that game-clinching pick against Georgia, had that tracked.
Well, it's because you're going to see it looks like man coverage, and then he comes off and is in position there. You're seeing more and more of that in college football, where you show man, make the quarterback think, I got a shot here to throw. It's zone, and then you throw it to the outside. It's going to be a penalty, but that's what he's talking to him about right there. Make sure you stay on your read. He got fooled there.
Yeah, Tim Smith roughed Nussmeier, and that's why the ball's moved down to the 21-yard line. Got him around the neck with a big arm there. So LSU, that's the break they needed. Nussmeier again looking to throw on first down. Look out. Josh Williams blown up by Bray Hubbard, the safety.
And Bray Hubbard has come in with Keon Sabb out with injuries. Saw the big interception he had this time. This guy 6'2", 204 pounds, tremendous athlete, has physicality, has speed. That time shows instincts in coverage. Timed that up perfectly.
Big shoes to fill, right? Keon Sabb, the transfer from Michigan, one of the vocal leaders, very savvy part of the secondary, and he's going to be sorely missed. But good job by Hubbard filling in. Direct snap. This is Juwan Johnson, the freshman running back. A wrinkle that they don't show much is a flag down as he's knocked out of bounds.
That's going to be a hold on Will Campbell, 66, the left tackle. We're just talking about Bray Hubbard. He was coming up in run support, and Campbell ended up holding on to him.
Holding, offense number 66. 10-yard penalty, previous spot. Repeat, second down.
Campbell, one of the two highly regarded tackles on this offensive line.
Yeah, he's just working outside in position, but out there in space.
That's supposed to be offensive tackle is not supposed to be a literal thing, right?
No. Tell you, Hubbard is an remember that interception he had at Vandy or Mizzou? Yeah, it was all over the field.
That's a pass off the hands of Johnson. So LSU in position again but that holding penalty makes it tricky, and now it's 3rd and 20.
You know, you're 3rd and so long. Do you go for that 5 to 8, 10-yard gain just to get a little bit closer, make it easier for a field goal attempt, or do you trust Nussmeier to try to take a shot downfield?
Well, it's another short throw trying to make a play as Williams, and
you're trying your quick throw like that. You just want to get that 5, 10 yards, give him a little bit of a better chance here. Try to cut this to an 8-point game.
They made the early chip shot. Ramos did. Remember, though, Kelly didn't like the operation. He thought it was taking too long to get the ball snapped and held. See if they can improve it. Roy is the snapper. And the punter, Peyton Todd, who had his starting job lost tonight, is the holder. This from 43, and that's more like it. Ramos has been reliable. SEC Special Teams Player of the Week when he kicked 4 against Arkansas. Shaky the last game, but is 2 for 2 tonight, and it cuts the lead to 8. And great moments in this rivalry, and there's Joe Burrow smoking that cigar. That's a nice touch. Part of the LSU student section. Liv Moss student section of the year contest from Taco Bell.
Look at this guy.
Download the app.
That guy to the left there, boy.
Is that a recent event that cost him that front tooth? You know?
Maybe out the parking lot. Pre-game, I'm not sure. Boy, it's survival of the fittest when you're in that student section.
Well, the gap is 8 still, if you want to. Look at this. Analytics doesn't take a break. It works 24/7. At the moment, look who's not on that board. 5 best chances to make the SEC title game right now.
Georgia's at 19%. Not even on the board.
Tell Kirby Smart and the Dogs that as Tennessee comes calling next week. It's a wild race. Again, no division, so it's an SEC race unlike any in a long time. It's a free-for-all. And again, the loser of this game in trouble. Bama has had 3 pretty good-looking drives, 2 touchdowns, and a third that could have ended up in a long field goal attempt before the delay a game and the punt. Right back to work on the ground.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Bama missed some chances. Milroe played so well tonight. Remember, he had the touchdown pass potentially to Ryan Williams. Bomb, first play of that drive just off his fingertips. Had a shot to Henderson, who got behind coverage, missed him, and that led to what you said, Chris, when it looked like they had the field goal chance. They had a false start. And then the delay that cost them the 3 points.
End around, Kendrick Law cuts it back up, picks up about 4 before Gilbert knocked him down. It'll be 3rd down and short. Rain is firing back up now. Said it would be intermittent.
They're like coming down in sheets when it's coming down.
So far, no turnovers. Both offenses have handled the tough conditions well at the moment. Miller the back on 3rd and 2. Checking with the sidelines. Indicated to the guys up front. From the pocket, Milroe trying to escape, trying to run for it now. Oh, it's a juke on the edge. He just got around Braden Swinson, the defensive end, and picks up the 1st down.
It is so difficult to be able to handle him when he gets out into space, especially for a big defensive end. Just trying to give it a different look. Swinson's a big man, 250 pounds. Tough for him to make that play against Jalen Milroe. When he starts to run on 3rd down, all eyes are in that backfield, but they're playing man coverage. So Swinson is out there on an island trying to make that play.
He's got great speed, but you saw him slip as he tried to stay with Milroe.
Lateral quicks is tough.
Milroe steps up, took a look downfield, and now just takes off and slides after about a 4-yard gain. The footing could become an issue if this rain keeps going.
Yep. You know, between dumping it out of the backfield to Jam Miller, quarterback potential stepping up, climbing the pocket, and taking off running. Right now, those linebackers from LSU, Greg Penn and Whit Weeks, who are Weeks especially very aggressive. They're going to have to continue to try to contain the big playability and the threat of Milroe, either throwing it underneath or running.
Haynes has it as a crease. Justice Haynes bangs into LSU territory for a first down. Picked up 8.
A great job of getting up to that second level by Tyler Booker, the left guard. He's kind of the leader of that front. You see 52 just kind of work up. Don't have to worry about the double team. Just able to get right there, get hands on Weeks.
Alabama running game took a long time to get going against Missouri, but they overpowered the Tigers in the second half, and they've picked up where they left off tonight in the first half in Baton Rouge. Haynes again in the middle, just plows ahead, makes it look easy to pick up 7 or 8.
Well, anytime you run a counter, the left side in this play with Proctor and Booker, you've got to be able to win on this side to allow these guys to pull around. Watch that left side, 74 and 52. They win, and now you're able to get a hat on a hat with that counter play. But it starts on that play side. This offensive line is being favored. Again, the line of scrimmage being favored by the Bama offensive line.
Josh Cuevas, the tight end, came around through a nice block as well.
Yep.
2nd and 3. This time it's a short gain by Miller. Set up 3rd and 1. Tide lining up quickly here. LSU just trying to get the chin straps fastened and the cleats in the ground. Bad snap. Milroe picks it up and tried to hand it off. They're not going to get there. A near disaster. Just we were saying how well they'd handled the wet football so far. It's going to be 4th down.
That's how it works, right? I don't think the ball ever got up. He's lucky to get his hands on it. For whatever reason, Brailsford, he just lost the grip of the football. So with that process of hurrying up, he doesn't get his hands on it. And Milroe, being the athlete that he is able to scoop it up. But he is held short, Chris, like you said, of that first down.
Jaden Roberts, right guard, being looked at by the athletic training staff. So a timeout on the field as both teams talk about this 4th and 1. If you're DeBoer, Kirk, I mean, you trust your offensive line. Easy call to just go for it here on 4th down. You try to pooch it down there.
Well, I think there's 2 different ways to look at it. The number one way is you've been aggressive all night. You trust your quarterback. You trust your offensive line who's winning a line of scrimmage. And, a chance to potentially put more points on the board. You go for it. And on the other hand, with the weather, 8-point lead, try to pin them inside the 10. So it just depends what Kalen DeBoer is thinking about right now in this 4th down play. And this is a loss right here. Roberts in the interior on that right side.
Not putting any weight on that left leg. That's not a good look for the big 310-pound junior from Houston. Physicality of the trenches, this level of the sport, this conference, boy, you just want to keep those big guys healthy for the stretch run.
Yep.
And then comes Gino Vandermark. We saw him come in and snap the ball for a play when Brailsford came out. This is his natural position at guard. And on 4th and 1, 8 straight runs on this drive. Can Alabama grind out a yard here to keep it going? Miller's the back. And Miller fighting. I don't think he got there. Needed to get to the 39. LSU says they stopped him, and they did.
Well, 2 of their best players make the play. Braden Swinson got the initial penetration. He overpowers Dupree. Watch this push right here, and then eventually you'll see Weeks clean it up. That's the initial push right inside there. He's able to slip off of it, and then it's Weeks who gets downhill and is able to finish him and not allow him to that first down marker. So he said, your best players on defense got to make plays to give LSU a chance to get back in the game. And that time Swinson and 40 Weeks do it on that 4th down play.
Swinson so quick to penetrate. Now LSU 3:37 before halftime, trying to cut into this 8-point lead. And fake it to Durham. Nussmeier immediately under pressure. Loses the football. It's on the ground. And it's scooped up. And Alabama with the takeaway. Tim Smith made the recovery. The pressure came from Jihad Campbell.
Chris, Jihad Campbell, we talked about throughout this entire game and how dangerous of a player he is. 1st and 10, they're gonna blitz him here. But what I want you to watch is the center here, DJ Chester. Miscommunication. He's turning to his left, doesn't even identify the threat of the linebacker. The AT&T clicker gives you an idea, so he gets chased out of there. And look how athletic Campbell is. Once he gets in there free, able to knock that ball away. Just when it looked like LSU might catch a break, boom, the wet ball definitely affects the fumble there.
Now the Tide, Milroe keeper. Milroe, 1st down, Moore still running, and will scoot out of bounds at the 10. And LSU defense forced right back out of the field, sudden change, and Milroe explodes for 22.
Get behind Haynes here, just let your quarterback do his thing. Kind of a quarterback draw, nobody there on that left side, and I think the defense, just think what they just did. Just think of what they just accomplished. And one play, they didn't even get a chance to sit down. They got to go right back on the field, and Alabama comes out on the field with momentum and excitement. LSU defense thinking, man, when are we going to be able to get off the field and catch a break?
Ryan Williams sprinting to the far left. And on 1st and goal, looking to throw it on the move and just kind of flips that out of bounds. There was nobody open. He was running out of space over there. Good decision. Man, you know, Nussmeier trying to extend that play. He was trying to scramble out of trouble. Shades of what happened. That play that turned the game around at Kyle Field, just trying to extend and make something happen, but set a mistake.
Yeah, and in this case, his offensive line didn't do him any favors. Just a bust assignment. It wasn't as if they brought 6 or 7. It was just 4-man rush. They brought Campbell from the middle, but nobody picked him up. You saw the confusion with Chester turning the wrong way and not seeing it.
Milroe, keeper all the way. Jalen Milroe, touchdown. Number 4 continues to be a nightmare with this LSU defense. Shades of last year. 2nd touchdown run tonight, and what a streak. All of a sudden, LSU's got momentum. Boom, fumble, and Alabama builds the lead.
Yeah, right now, LSU, that's the 2nd time on this drive. They ran that quarterback draw. Jalen Milroe saw it as soon as he took off. You could see him accelerate, knew he was going to have to potentially lower his shoulder into weeks, and he did. But nobody there on that left side. And it was like LSU gift wrapped this.
So now he's got the record all to himself. Most rushing touchdowns in a season, surpassing what Jalen Hurts did. Here's the fumble, the first of the year for Nussmeier, by the way.
Yeah, and it's Campbell knocking that football loose. Alabama able to capitalize. That's after LSU's defense made a 4th down stop to give him the ball. Now watch, you see Jones work in here and Penn work outside. Well, what happens is when that, look, you don't even have any, nobody has their eyes on the threat of Jalen Milroe. There's no one there.
How's that happen?
Well, it's just a call that they happen to make there defensively. He's looking out in the perimeter. And then you got the back doesn't have anybody to pick up. Justin Haynes. He's easily solved that he's going to just use his speed to get into the end zone.
And the beat continues for LSU. A real problem stopping running quarterbacks. Lenore Sellers, the loss of South Carolina really hurt him.
Yep.
Obviously, we saw what happened when Marcel Reed came in off the bench against Texas A&M and ran the zone read right through him. And again tonight.
I mean, if they're going to make adjustments, it's, listen, we got to stop him and the threat of running. Make him throw this football.
Xavier Thomas wants to make a long run, turns the corner at 17, 2:28 before halftime. Holly?
Well, guys, I talked to Jihad Campbell this week, and he said that he was here and remembers the fans rushing the field and the students trying to help them get off the field, and how crazy it was after they lost here in Death Valley 2 years ago. He said, we don't want a repeat of that. We are coming to Baton Rouge with violent intentions. They know this is an elimination game, and that was a violent intended play right there that turned the tide.
Holly, that's what we've seen this entire first half, is a team playing with intent. Team on a mission.
Campbell, he said he's kind of a do-everything guy. Plays basically 4 different positions. That's the second fumble that he's forced this year. Has a pick, has a fumble recovery.
He does it all. And he plays with such great edge, personality. You know, Kane Womack, this defensive coordinator, what a job he's doing right now for Alabama, putting them in position. You know how many receptions the LSU wide receivers have as a group? 0. Whole first half, they don't have a catch.
They haven't even targeted Hilton or Daniels. Kirk Lacey's been targeted 3 times, but hasn't grabbed one.
Yeah.
21-6 Alabama at the 2-minute timeout. Two minutes in a first half that's been controlled by Alabama. 3 touchdowns are better than 2 field goals, and they have handled the must-win mode extremely well on the road so far. 2nd and 9 for LSU, trying to get some points here, and then they'll get the ball to start the second half. But it's been tough, just nothing downfield. 1 pass attempt beyond the line of scrimmage for Nussmeier. That was the 1 throw to Taylor. There's another long throw, sidelines, and they do get the ball to a wide receiver, and that's been rare. C.J. Daniels makes the catch for 14 yards.
You know, the one area that people like to challenge Bama is they're talented at corner, but they're young. Damani Jackson, and that was Xavier Brown. I mean, if you're going to go after him, you would have thought with Kyron Lacey and this group of receivers, that was where Garrett Nussmeier was going to try to make his living tonight, but he just hadn't been able to find that rhythm yet.
So many weapons in this passing game haven't really been employed yet. That's Williams out of the backfield. Picks up about 9.
Don't forget, this is an offense. It has a quarterback that can make plays. He's got a quick trigger. And Alabama is going to try to stop them on his possession. Very important to remember, LSU gets the ball to start the second half.
Set a chance for the daily double, but still a long way to go on 2nd and 2. That's Taylor. Enough for a fresh set of downs in front of Lawson.
Yeah, getting the ball out quick. That offensive line has struggled in pass rush. So some quick decisions, easy throws, working that right side. Now these corners are going to be superstars. It's just right now Xavier Brown, too, is a true freshman at a Mater Dei in California, and Damani Jackson, the SC transfer. Both these guys are big and athletic, but you can challenge them. Here comes that blitz.
They're showing it for sure.
That's what he's trying. He's making the adjustment. See if Alabama pulls out, but they showed it early. Pulled out.
So Nussmeier, a different look than he expected. Has some room, doesn't run much, but with all that green grass, scampers into Bama territory, picks up 6.
Good job getting out of bounds, getting positive yards.
Receivers get a little grumpy when they don't get targeted. So far, they haven't looked at Aaron Anderson, the Alabama transfer. Again, Lacey looking for his first catch.
Lacey into the boundary off to the right.
Taylor and Williams out of the backfield have been the 2 weapons that Nussmeier's used, and they do get it to Daniels here, but didn't really get the block he needed. Short pickup. It'll be 3rd and 1. Justin Jefferson made the play.
That's a long throw for just a yard or 2.
Tempo here. And Williams bursts forward for a first down to the 42. Inside of a minute now in this half.
You know, obviously LSU doing everything they can to hold on to that last timeout.
They had to spend that when the play clock was winding down. It could be very important as they try to cut into this lead here. And now a flag and a false start before they got set up, really. It's the 3rd penalty on LSU tonight.
Yeah, the center moved the football there.
Wonder what they'll talk about at halftime. You know, Joe Sloan, the brain trust, Kelly heavily involved in the offense. You know, Nussmeier does come up from a mistake-plagued game, but he's so capable with the arm, and there's so many guys out there who can get open and catch the football.
Yeah, remember, the adjustments were made. I don't know if there's anybody better than Brian Kelly. In fact, he has 9 comeback wins when they've been down by double digits.
Offense number 79. 5-yard penalty. Remains second down.
He has 9
because the foul
comeback
caused the
wins.
clock to stop. With less than 2 minutes to play in the second half, there'll be a 10-second subtraction for game clock. Clock operator, please put 43 seconds on the game clock.
That hurts.
By rule, the clock will start on the ready for play.
Thank you, Ken, for the thorough explanation. So it cost them 5 yards in the 10 seconds here. Under 43.
Kelly has the 9 comebacks from double digits, but Nuss, he also has 3 comeback wins in his career. So his team knows what it takes to get back into a game.
And fires off the back foot, still trying to connect with Lacey for the first time tonight.
Lacey is having a hard time getting separation. Talking about those corners. Delani Jackson that time just locked up on him. No ability at all to get away. It's one thing to talk about. Again, these guys are talented. They're just young. But right now they're holding their own out there on islands.
Second and 15. Tide don't bring pressure. Short toss again. Williams makes the catch, and now with the clock ticking down, Kelly will have to think about using that final timeout. And he does, which ends the check in with Kevin Negandhi.
Chris, Capital One halftime report minutes away with Booger McFarland here. Number 1 Oregon in action. We got highlights coming your way, plus the fallout of Ole Miss knocking off Georgia. How does LSU, aside from you suiting up, get back in this game?
Well, it's a continuation from the A&M game. They can't tackle the quarterback. Jalen Milroe's running everywhere, and the defense has to figure out a way to get off the field on 3rd down. Those are the 2 issues.
They need big number 94, Chris and Kirk, to suit up out there in Death Valley.
They can't afford me anymore.
Neither can we.
Get the big.
Can he catch the ball, though? I mean, we get him on offense. I think the defense obviously has had problems stopping Milroe, but this offense stalling twice when they had a chance to kind of match Alabama touchdown for touchdown.
Yeah, and the other thing here, even in this possession, is Alabama doesn't have to necessarily blitz. That time, Tim Smith, that previous play, he's rushing 4. He's pushing Mubinga right back into the face of Nussmeier, and they're able to play zone behind it.
So that little dink pass cost them the final timeout here. We're down to 28 seconds, and they need 11 to try to get a first down. If they don't get a first down and don't stop the clock, they have to rush the field goal team out there.
They get 7 walked up.
Durham in motion. They pitch it to him behind the line, and he falls down for a loss. The absolute last thing they needed. It's 4th down, and seconds tick away. The crowd begins to grumble. And doomed the drive right there.
Absolutely. Alabama baited them into that. Showed the 7 up front. You can see the adjustment by Nussmeier to get the ball out to Caden Durham in a hurry.
You can see the serenade from the Bayou boos here. Not the first half this revved up crowd was looking for. And in must-win mode, Alabama has showed up, locked in, and ready for this challenge. And it's a 21-6 halftime lead. Brian Kelly's perfect record in home night games very much in danger. Holly's got Kalen DeBoer.
Well, Coach DeBoer, you wanted your quarterback to use his legs. How is he balancing the run and the pass? 2 rushing touchdowns already.
Yeah, I think he's done a really nice job, you know, playing the elements and everything, and then, you know, get the first touchdown really got him in a rhythm. So, like where he's at right now.
You just ran in that last touchdown, and he came over to the sideline. You had a long conversation with him. What are you reminding him of? What is that conversation about at this point?
You know, just talking about that the game plan is going to keep coming full circle. You know, the elements are going to change. You know, just stay within yourself. You know, the next play is the most important play. Learn from everything that you see and keep moving forward.
Thank you, Coach. Thank
you. DeBoer well aware how quickly things can turn in this conference. So what happened when the Dogs came roaring back, so he knows the job is far from done. But Alabama, impressive first half, up 21-6. Capital One halftime report. Kevin and Boog coming up after these messages. You are watching the SEC on ABC.
Week coverage on ESPN, brought to you by USAA.
Set for the second half here in Death Valley, the SEC on ABC. Saturday Night Football presented by Capital One. Part of Veterans Week presented by USAA. LSU gets football to begin this third quarter in a 15-point hole. And welcome back. Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Holly Rowe. Talked about the history. Certainly they have the ability to come back. Kelly's done it plenty of times. Garrett Nussmeier's done it plenty of times. But what kind of spark do they need as they get the football here to get this passing game going?
Well, I think, believe it or not, I think it go the other way. First of all, they've got to get better at the line of scrimmage. Alabama's controlled it on both sides. And this offense, it could be as simple as just getting that one first down, maybe creating a little bit of momentum. And then the receivers, even in a wet field, they've got to be able to get their defensive backs matched up and then get by them. They're not getting anything downfield at all. And this offense prides itself on Garrett Nussmeier making plays downfield.
Lowest point total in a first half for LSU in about 3 years. Here's the Sonic Drive-In recap.
Well, this has been all Alabama. What a way to start this game for Jalen Milroe. This opening drive, they got it started, took the crowd out of the game. What a great look right there at Milroe, who had 4 touchdowns last year on the ground against this LSU team. LSU's defense gets a 4th down stop. The next play, Nussmeier puts the ball on the ground, and a few plays later, Alabama able to capitalize with another Jalen Milroe touchdown. That's 6 now in the last 6 quarters against this LSU defense.
6 for 8 on 3rd down to the Tide. Meanwhile, the Tigers, they get that explosive run from Caden Durham, that 45-yarder, their first series. Since then, Kirk, almost nothing. 10 rushes for 23 yards before that gain right there. Holly?
Well, I asked Brian Kelly what has to change for his offense on this drive, and he said execution. They're just not executing at a high level right now. He said, you know, we were about to make it a one-score game, and then we turned the football over. He does believe they can have a successful drive here, make this an interesting game, but he said it's all coming down to execution. Guys just aren't doing their job. They've got to find a way to make it happen right now on this drive.
Got 6 on first. Nussmeier from the pocket, plenty of time. Throws it downfield, but he threw it behind Xavier Thomas. A little off target. It's going to set up a quick 3rd down here.
You know, this is a little thing. Nussmeier getting a little bit greedy. Watch the big tight end right here. And if you just hit Mason Taylor right now, throw it. Just take the yardage. Why wait? And he had the window, but it was a tough throw. Instead of just taking the easy throw, it's 1st down.
In case you think it's easy to play quarterback at this level of college football, even guys like as good as Nussmeier or Cam Ward today, missing guys who are running free right in front of him. It's happening pretty fast for Nussmeier again tonight. Can they get this drive going? Need 4. Nussmeier flush by a 4-man rush. On the move this time, tucks the ball and makes a productive run for a 1st down. Doesn't use his legs often, but needed to that time. Got 14.
Well, I thought Robinson was going to get him. He starts outside and then works inside, and now he's got a chance with that speed to get to the quarterback. But Garrett Nussmeier deserves a lot of credit. Good block downfield there to help get him just enough for that 1st down yardage.
They big pressure as Nussmeier backpedals on 1st down. It's deflected. And a dangerous throw as Xavier Brown was stalking there.
We talk about a violent attitude that Holly Rowe talked about. That's a violent attitude with Lawson. There's the hand on it from 50, Tim Smith. But the violent attitude there was from Lawson on that blitz. Went right through the running back, Josh Williams, trying to make a blitz pickup. Here they come again. Seeing Lawson showing it. I think that they saw it from upstairs.
Some fresh defensive linemen, backups in there for Alabama as Williams bangs off the left side. Really has to run hard just to pick up a couple and set up a 3rd and long again.
We can talk about guys not doing their jobs. I think Holly mentioned that BK talked about that. Biggest thing to me is just LSU raising their intensity level, especially in the trenches. It's hard to execute as a quarterback, receivers, running backs when you're losing the line of scrimmage.
Excellent. Hugh Robinson plays what they call the wolf position, a key part of this defense being looked at by the athletic training staff. LSU needs 8 on 3rd when we come back to Baton Rouge. Hugh Robinson right to the medical tent. His left wrist got bent back and an ugly angle there. He's being pretty stoic, but it did not look good. And we'll keep you posted there.
Yeah, one of the unsung heroes of this defense.
Now third down, Tigers showing pressure.
They've been showing it and bailing. Let's see if they end up coming.
They are coming. All out blitz. Pass caught by Aaron Anderson, and the ex-Crimson Tide squeezes just enough space to get down near the marker. It'll be fourth down and about a half yard.
What an effort just to give him a chance. Look at this battle up front again. Bringing everybody. Nussmeier, good job just getting that ball off, but it's not quite enough for the first down.
Big moment here. It's a direct snap. Williams moved over into position.
He's going to sneak it.
Up, try to catch Alabama napping, and it is enough for a first down. Acted like he was directing traffic and then snuck up under center.
There's a lot going on there. Initially, he just moved out of the way. Looked like maybe direct snap to the running back. Instead, like you said, just kind of a decoy, make a check, sneaks, gets underneath. And I think he did catch him napping, especially the linebackers.
Key play, though, Kirk. They finally got Aaron Anderson involved. The slot receiver is a dangerous weapon. Made that 7-yard gain. Tigers on the move now. Pressure again. Nussmeier backpedaling, has some space, flips it, and it's complete. Down to the 25-yard line. Mason Taylor worked free, picked up 19.
Well, he's showing a lot.
Holding, offense number 50.
It's coming back, though.
10-yard penalty, previous spot. Big first down.
Costly penalty on Emory Jones.
Yeah, it's Emory Jones going against LT Overton. Really good pass rusher, the transfer from A&M. Just about to compliment Garrett Nussmeier, making some plays by keeping him alive. It's up here. Watch Overton from the backside. He's able to get the leverage, and that's what forced Jones to just grab onto him. Nussmeier not known for that athletic ability, but doing a good job just buying time, and found Taylor open on that second level. But look at this, all the way back instead of that big gain.
30-yard difference in field position, Kirk. From the 25 back to their own 45. Second holding penalty on LSU tonight.
Now Hubbard's up here, the safety.
On the move, Nussmeier, again, shallow route there, trying to find Chris Hilton. He's much more effective going downfield. Man, is a penalty going to stall another potential scoring opportunity for LSU?
Yeah, they're not just penalties. It's not just yards, getting behind the sticks. That's obvious. I think it's just the critical timing of some of these penalties. Just take the wind out of your sails. You're just trying to get anything to get your momentum going, get you to believe it's going to happen, and then you self-destruct.
Tight ends featured here as Lacey's off the field. A little confusion in the backfield. Xavier Thomas, heavy traffic, almost bumped into a teammate, but it's a big gain.
Yeah, that was actually Caleb Jackson, who hadn't been in the game very much, if at all. Definitely a miscommunication. He's moving, and he gets in the way. Oh, my goodness. That ball bounced off of Caleb Jackson. I don't think they worked on that in a Thursday practice. They caught a break there.
I don't think he knew the pop pass was coming, obviously. Pick up 11, but it's still 3rd and 9. Out of field goal range.
Then Hubbard showing it. The safety walked up, showing man-to-man across the board.
Quick pitch to the edge. This is Anderson again. Anderson this time will not get that near the marker. It's going to be 4th down and about 4.5. Malachi Moore made the tackle. Devontae Smith is slow to get up for Alabama.
Watch this defense just fly to the football. I mean, they are running to the ball. Look at all those crimson jerseys. I mean, these LSU receivers, after the catch, are dangerous. You get Taylor out in front. You got Thomas out in front, but with 11 chasing him from behind. You got Malachi Moore. You know, I'm guaranteeing Kalen DeBoer talked to his team and he said, guys, we've been in a position with the lead. We cannot let up. There's Smith walking off the nickel corner.
Holly can add some injury information on that Alabama sideline as Smith heads for the medical tent.
Well,
Well, guys, this is really interesting. Alabama actually has a portable x-ray machine here on the sideline, so they're able to diagnose quickly. Q Robinson has gone to the locker room. What apparently looks like a pretty severe left forearm injury, was completely immobilized. But the good news is Jaden Roberts, their right tackle or their right guard, is able to come back and play if they want him to.
Here we go, 4th down. LSU needing 4. Trying to get this comeback launched. Tide again, crowd the line. They don't bring big-time pressure. Nussmeier on the move. High throw, catch made. 1st down at the 25. Clutch as Taylor comes up with it.
Boy, does Taylor just have a great feel of just sitting in the pocket or sitting in the soft spot of the zone. Just kind of look at him looking around, feel it, give the quarterback a nice target.
Nussmeier again on the move, surveys, flips it down to the 5-yard line. Lacey finally makes a big play, steps out of bounds after a 21-yard gain. LSU set up 1st and goal.
Now, Nussmeier's moving around more tonight than maybe he has all year put together. Good job again, using the legs, buying the time, and then locating his favorite target, Lacey, for huge yards inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah, normally his favorite target. First time they've connected tonight. 13th play of this LSU drive. Trying to find the end zone for the first time.
Trey Green, 6'7", all the way at the top, number 14.
Williams dragged down after about a half-yard by LT Overton.
It is tough to call plays for Joe Sloan when you're getting whipped at the line of scrimmage and you're getting teams more physical. You got to come up with some answers, and Nussmeier's legs have helped on this drive.
Taylor slot right, Williams is the back, and Nussmeier across the middle, throw an interception. Deontay Lawson makes the pick right at the goal line. It will be a touchback. Nussmeier's 10th interception of the season is a disastrous one.
Wow, the veteran Lawson makes the play. What a great job of passing off one receiver and then going to the next. Watch him in the inside. That's Green right there, 14. He gets off of him and then right away gets himself in position. Let's go back real quick, look at it. Green's coming across, comes off of him, and it gets right there. See, I think Garrett expected him to stay on Green and to have that throwing window.
The red zone interception dooms an LSU drive. 21-6 still.
Saturday Night Football, presented by Capital One, is brought to you by Chick-fil-A. Local Chick-fil-A restaurants recognize the University of Alabama Athletics grounds and campus maintenance crews with a catered meal to thank them for all they do.
Alabama linebackers coming up big tonight. The first career interception for Deontay Lawson and a Mobile. Stayed in the end zone, did not bring it out, so a touchback, and the Tide from the 20. Give it to Kendrick Law on the end around, and Law spins for about 8. That was their best drive, 14 plays. Right there again on the doorstep, coming up empty.
14-play drive, took a lot of time, overcame. Remember that 1st and 20, looked like they didn't have any chance. Converted a 4th and 4, got inside the 5, and then the big play by Lawson to get the interception.
Jam Miller, 1st down. What did Lawson do so well? How did he show his veteran savvy as Miller is down after the end of the run?
Yeah, what he keep an eye on Jam Miller right away. He goes down. What he did is, again, showing that veteran experience. He came off of Green, who worked into the middle, and then got in position in that lane. You see Daniels had his hands up. It was right into throwing. That's going to be a touchdown on a slant. Because Garrett Nussmeier thought that Lawson would work and stay with Green, which would have opened it up, but instead Lawson surprised him.
Yeah, it's tough. You know, we talked about Nussmeier waiting behind Jaden Daniels for 2 years. You know, Daniels in his brilliant 2-year career here, 57 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions. besides the 2,000 yards that he ran for. So Nussmeier, 10th this season, still an inexperienced player. You think about Daniels had 29 starts at Arizona State before he got here, and then played 26 games, or 29 games, I should say, not all starts, but a lot of football at Tempe, and then 29 before 26 here. So Nussmeier obviously far less experienced trying to step into those shoes.
And a different style of play. I mean, Jaden Daniels, such a threat, getting out of the edge, the quarterback run game, but his decision making was so good, and now we're seeing it on Sundays with the Commanders, obviously. I mean, he's a once-in-a-generation quarterback talent.
In his brief career, that's the 5th red zone interception by Nussmeier. That was super damaging, because as you said, they did use a lot of time on the clock. Could not cut into the lead. Justice Haynes in as they check out Jim Miller on the sideline. Short cane. And they'll still line up, trying to play with some tempo here. Go across the middle, bobbled, and then incomplete. Kendrick Law had it, tried to grab it, and couldn't hold on.
Love how Jalen Milroe works his eyes from the left. I know he didn't complete this, but he knew exactly where he wanted to go with the ball. Just a drop there by Law, usually more sure-handed. Put this right on the money. Woo, that is a great throw.
They have 2 chances to grab it. Instead, they're going to need 8 to get this drive going. It's going to be big for LSU's defense to get right back off the field.
And if you don't pressure, you're putting both your best pass rushers right over here in 35 Jones and 4 Swenson on the same side. And both these backers can come on the blitz.
They're leaning forward like they're coming, and both do come. Milroe will be swarmed, so an aggressive call, and LSU with Jones and Swenson getting there, get him to the ground. There's a flag down in the offensive pit area.
Face mask, defense.
Oh my goodness. You said these penalties have been really ill-timed and costly.
Yeah, just critical times. The interception coming at a critical time. Jones, who gets in there, Blake Baker dialing it up, perfect call, and Jones just trying to make a play, gets a hold of Milroe's face mask. So instead of it being 4th down and a punt ball back to Nussmeier and LSU, instead, it's Milroe with the 1st down. Crowd's reacting.
They didn't think it was enough, but there's some debris getting showered on the field. Going near the Alabama bench.
Why does that have to become a thing this year? Some idiots do this at Texas, and now all of a sudden we see it popping up in college football. Enough's enough, clowns. Just, what are you doing?
Agree. It's not the first bottle ever been thrown on the field here. I can promise you, as a sideline guy, worked in the 80s.
This is just stupid.
Yeah. These are water bottles. Back in the day, they were other kind of bottles. But yeah, now it's a copycat situation.
Yeah, it's great. That's your home cheerleader.
And guess what? They're not going to review that and take the face mask off the board.
Just embarrassing to LSU. It's embarrassing to college football, and just around the country. Just enough's enough, man.
Well, they fine Texas, big 6-figure fine after this. Same thing maybe in sort of LSU. Kelly's still arguing his case.
He didn't get the face mask. He got him to the side.
Another look at it. What do you think, Bill LeMonnier?
Even if you grab the side of the helmet, the opening there, that's still considered a face mask. So it's a correct call.
Okay.
They did get the face mask anyway. You see his fingers up in the cage there, right there.
That's, I mean, it's hooked onto the cage, the face mask.
You're a defensive player. You're not trying to do that. You're just reaching out, trying to grab the quarterback. But
and the play call worked. I mean, they put Swenson and Jones on that one side. They brought Weeks and Penn on the blitz. Everybody got home. The pocket collapsed. But as we've seen all night long, it's not just the penalties. It's those 3rd down, would have gotten off the field. It's that interception inside the 5. It's the gut-wrenching mistakes. that have prevented LSU from having a chance to get this within a possession.
Bama now from the 47 of LSU. Haynes still in the game as they check Miller out. End around. Ryan Williams has a convoy. Ryan Williams steps up. They finally run him down, but the electric end around moves the ball down to the 25-yard line. He got 32 yards there. 22, I should say.
Got to communicate back here when you see this movement. LSU on our right, just completely full. Nobody down the backside. You can see one chasing Stamps from behind. He's trying to catch up to Williams. Eventually he does. But the eyes of the LSU secondary and the communication tested there. They failed on that play.
Kind of a quiet night from Williams. He has 2 catches for 19. That's his biggest play.
He's got one-on-one matchup here.
Instead, it's Haynes up the middle. Holly, what can you tell us?
They've examined Jam Miller on the sideline. He got the wind knocked out of him and is likely to return to this game. But Devontae Smith, their Husky guy, is not able to return. He kind of plays that nickel position. Likely in his place should see a freshman, Red Morgan or Deshaun Jones.
So Smith is out. Robinson didn't look good, but we did see Miller trot back out there for this 2nd and 9 play. And he's got the football, and Jam has dropped down. LSU's done a pretty good job containing the Alabama tailbacks. It's been Milroe that's hurt him more.
Oh, yeah.
Explosive runs.
Yeah, you know, I think that's when this Alabama offense starts cranking, you get caught up in trying to stop a lot of different things. But, and I think Blake Baker knew that coming in.
Longest run for a Bama tailback tonight is 8 yards. Milroe again, keeper. Jalen Milroe to the house. The hat trick, rushing touchdowns for the Tide quarterback. 19 yards there, and this is getting to be much more comfortable for the Crimson Tide.
Oh boy, keeps running on this left side. Nice deliberate fake here. And LSU out of position again on that left side.
See, the last 2 years, it's now 7 rushing touchdowns against the Tigers for Milroe. 3 of those tonight. And again, the big pendulum swing of momentum. Instead of LSU cutting it to a 1-possession game, they're down 22.
He is so powerful. And watch Weeks start to work outside. Good block here by Dupree. He buries the defensive end. Now you get outside. Look how you just get out of position. I mean, this guy is fast. He's powerful at 6'2", 225. And then he pulls away from you with that ability to cut back and go to the house.
Well, they knew the obstacle was going to be difficult, stopping Jalen Milroe from throwing and running. And LSU has not been up to it so far tonight. 22-point hole in what has been called a must-win game midway 3rd quarter. Xavier Thomas knocked down. Well, he's still going. I did not hear a whistle, and the Tide kind of hesitated and gets it out near the 34.
Yeah, this LSU defense has had some issues with quarterbacks that can move, run and throw. Lenore Sellers with a big day at South Carolina, 88 yards on the ground. We all know that Marcel Reed, when he came into the game a couple weeks ago, his ability on that zone read. And once again, Jalen Milroe, big year last year against his defense, and another big night tonight. 3 touchdowns on the ground. He had 4 last year. That's 7 now in 2 games running the football.
And averaging, Kirk, on his 10 carries, 11.7 yards is Milroe. Urgency. LSU needs a quick strike. Going to hand the ball in the hole to Durham, and he is smacked immediately and driven back.
I mean, to me, it's been from the opening snap to right now. There's a good look at Jalen Milroe. There's all 3 of the quarterbacks, the numbers they put up.
Sellers got knocked out of the game. LSU came back and won it, but he had to leave the game, and that was the turning point.
Yeah, it sure was. But the theme I've seen, I think anybody watching this game, is just Bama's more physical and just controlling things. Showed up in a bad mood, and they have not lost that edge throughout the game.
Nussmeier, sideline route, catch made. Lacey hesitated, gets going, and gets down inside the 40. A chunk play they desperately needed, picked up 28.
The corner shows press, then gets out. Good timing throw, ball's out in a hurry. Good job at actually staying in bounds there by Lacey to get another 15 or 20 yards after the catch. Only 2 receptions on the night.
Down 3 scores, you feel like they've got to make something happen in this possession. You got to find the end zone to have a chance. Nussmeier, lofted throw for Lacey, who goes up high. Was he in bounds?
Yeah, I think he
did. Jump ball with Xavier Brown, and Lacey showing how good he is in the air, and he's contested catches.
How about the hands and the, whoa, they're going to take it at that toe on the line.
One toe over the line, maybe. We'll stop and get a closer look.
But what an effort to go airborne. It's one of those 50-50 balls that Nussmeier likes so much because he trusts Lacey to make a play, locates it, catches it. I think that right toe is on the white line.
Negates the 21-yard play if the officials see it that way. Lamagne gives us the incomplete signal from the right end of the booth. That's not the best angle. That previous angle made it pretty clear that the toe did get on the paint. You got to see some green grass between the two, and there isn't any. If only he wore size less shoe.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a 12 or if we just take an inch off of that cleat or white cleat there.
Even if it doesn't stand, they've gotten things going with Lacey's previous catch on the right sideline. So a sign of life from this LSU offense. But a long way to go.
We were talking at the break there about this new era of a 12-team playoff and 2 losses in these conferences and what it does, especially in the SEC. We saw Ole Miss and Georgia. Ole Miss kind of an elimination game. They showed up with bad intentions, able to win against Georgia. And now here we are, talked all week. LSU, Alabama, kind of an elimination game. Boy, did Bama take that personally in the way they've shown up. It's kind of a sign of this new era where you're not out of it with a couple losses. Previous years, 2 losses, it's over. Right now, you're alive and have another chance to try to get backed into a corner and come out swinging.
No doubt. Talked to Kellen DeBoer last night because the Missouri game can be a difficult opponent. They were banged up, but Alabama faced that same kind of urgency. Look, the losses to Vandy and Tennessee, no margin for error at all.
That's right.
And you know, it's going to be a tough race in the SEC, but I think that, you know, if you don't get in the SEC championship game, get one of those 2 slots in the game, probably 2 other teams are going to get in. If you look at the 2 power conferences, SEC, Big Ten, you can make a very strong case. There's 4 playoff-worthy teams, at least 4. But
after further review, after controlling the ball, the receiver's foot came down and hit the line with his toe. Therefore, the pass is incomplete. It'll be 2nd and 10 at the 39-yard line. The clock will start on the snap.
All these games are interconnected. SEC games, Big Ten games. Is the Big 12 worthy of 2 teams? Another team besides the champion is the ACC.
Right now, it doesn't look like it, but things could happen in the last 3 weeks of the season. You know, we've got another elimination game next week in Athens with Tennessee and in Georgia. So when you get down to the last 3 weeks of the season, it's a lot of fun to get. I mean, it's only 3 weeks to go to get to elimination game.
And a lot of teams still alive. I thought you had an interesting feature on College Game Day with a little meter. Are you not a contender? Are you a playoff team? Are you a national title contender? There's a lot of playoff contending teams. You guys didn't let that meter go very far to the right to call a bunch of teams a national championship contender.
Now Pat had Oregon. Yeah. Pat had his, and actually he threw LSU. Home cooking. He threw LSU all the way down to the right too.
Obviously Ohio State, Oregon.
Yeah.
Texas would be in that mix.
Wait.
Late pressure, and he rolled right into it, right into the path of Jahad Campbell. Not just a sack, that's a big loss back near midfield, and it's going to be 4th and 21.
It's a great matchup with Campbell's ability to rush the quarterback, and Will Campbell, one of the better left tackles in college football. He gets to the edge, and Garrett Nussmeier's had some success escaping out to kind of that back door of the pocket. And that time Campbell anticipating that threat, just waiting for him to turn into him, and comes up with another sack.
Oschendorf on the punt.
How good is 11 playing tonight?
Lights out. Campbell and Loss continue to be such strengths in the middle for that Alabama defense.
Play of game, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains 4th down.
Just backing up Oschendorf there. So that's 2 sacks now, Kirk. They have 2 takeaways. They were tied for the SEC lead coming in with 18. So add 2 more to that. And it's been the MO of this defense.
Yep.
Get after the quarterback, take the ball away.
Again, Kane Womack has come up with a plan tonight, and the way his defensive line is played, how violent they've been at that line of scrimmage, freeing up those 2 inside linebackers. It's been a thing of beauty to watch this Bama defense.
Fair catch made at the 15. And let's check in with Kevin Nagandi.
Chris, time now for the Chick-fil-A move on the field. Number 10 Notre Dame all over Florida State on offense and defense. Jordan Clark here, the pick, making his dad proud, our colleague Ryan Clark. And it's right now Notre Dame up 38-3. Florida State on its way to a 1-9 record. Chris, Kirk, back to you.
Here's Kane Womack, the defensive coordinator. His dad, Dave, it's funny, he's on the sidelines. So Dave's a legendary former defensive coordinator, and he's watching on TV at home, getting him a shout out. At the home games, he stands out there like a member of the staff. He's halfway on the field sometimes.
I love it.
Tied from the 15 here. 17 minutes of play left, trying to protect this 3-touchdown lead. They're going to throw on 1st down. Crossing pattern. Catch made by Dupree, the tight end. CJ spinning free. Another missed tackle by this LSU defense. It's been tough tonight.
Couple tight ends in his formation. 1st and 10 with a nice lead. Little mesh route, expecting run. Last thing you think they're going to do with this lead is throw the football inside their own territory, inside their own 20. And again, I think Nick Sheridan talked a lot about what Kane Womack has done, but Nick Sheridan is a play caller tonight. Offense prepared, doing a really good job, kind of breaking some trends and staying 1 step ahead of what LSU's defense is trying to do.
Milroe on the edge, just uses his speed to pick up about 3 or 4. Holly?
Well, Jalen Milroe's having a great night. His work ethic really drives this team. There was a cute story that Ryan Williams told this week that when he got to Alabama, he kept hearing how Jalen would always be the first in the building. So when Ryan Williams got there, he'd try to beat him to the facility. He's like, I'd be going at 5 a.m. and his truck would already be there. 4:30, his truck would already be there. Jalen Milroe's work ethic is driving this team because guys are trying to keep up with him.
Are we sure he didn't sleep there? 4:30?
That's early.
Final minute of the quarter. Another throw. And Kendrick Law made the catch and actually lost yardage. Zay Alexander made the play, and it's going to be 3rd and long. They can take it all the way down. And
I think they will.
Don't have to snap it.
Yep. Pretty good 3 quarters coming into Death Valley, up 28-6.
Some teams respond well to what you talked about, that must-win mode. Alabama certainly has. Ole Miss did today.
Yep.
Georgia, LSU, not so much tonight. "15 minutes left to try to stage a miraculous turnaround for the Tigers. They'll still take a 2nd conference loss. Alabama up 22, end of 3 in Baton Rouge. Back after this message and a word from your local ABC station. You're watching the SEC on ABC. Set for the 4th quarter of the SEC on ABC in Baton Rouge. They're trying to get the folks pumped up, but not many folks using those flashlights on the cell phones. They try to get the spirit going. Some of these folks have had it out. This is what you dream about doing. You're a visiting team coming to the House of Horrors in college football. Is start of the 4th quarter, and some of the folks have had it out, and the ones who are here are pretty quiet. for the moment. 3rd and 9. LSU trying to get off the field here. Both Haynes and Miller in the backfield. First time we've seen this look. And now Miller motions out. Milroe just takes off. Guess what? Quarterback run. Jalen Milroe to sprint. Number 4 with his 4th rushing touchdown. 72 yards. A dagger to the Tigers' hopes. And Milroe continues to absolutely terrorize this defense. Back-to-back seasons with 4 rushing touchdowns.
Listen, you're not going to see that maybe ever again in this rivalry between LSU and Alabama. The number one thing that LSU knew they had to do was stop the threat of Milroe and his legs. Got to give Nick Sheridan, like I said, and Kalen DeBoer a lot of credit for the way they've designed some opportunities for him to be able to get out into space. They did it once again here with this play.
Now he's just crushing the rushing touchdown record at Alabama that Jalen Hurts held. 4 tonight, makes 16 on the season.
He ends up putting both the backs in the backfield. Haven't seen a lot of that, but they put it here on 3rd down. You get both backs, and they're going to end up motioning Miller out, and you can see a linebacker follow him. But when you follow him, see him pointing, little hesitation. Now look at that backside. Now that back that left is good. 22 is going to lead the way, picks up that safety, and now it's speed. I mean, that's 60 yards. He's just outrunning everybody on that LSU defense.
Not his style, but he could have done what Kyler Murray did when the Cardinals played the 49ers. He could have put the finger in the air at about the 40-yard line because it was over at that point. That's his longest career run right there.
How about the last 2 years? 345 on the ground. There's Dad, family.
He looked like he expected this tonight, didn't he?
He's like, I mean, last year 4, this year 4.
Hey, you got 14:50 left.
He's not done.
And it's going to be some grumbling around it. They don't mind grumbling. They're tremendously supportive. Xavier Thomas trying to streak free. Flag comes in late in the return as he's knocked down. Another flag comes in, knocked down at the 32. But you said it. Everybody knew what the chore was on defense, and they've been hurt again and again by running quarterbacks, and yet just not able to get lined up and use enough leverage to contain him.
Yeah, I don't want to be overly critical, but you want to know how Blake Baker improves the defense? He and Brian Kelly got to go recruit. When you close your eyes, you think of LSU defense, you think of individual players. There's a laundry list of players, freshmen, sophomore, and juniors, seniors. They're going to be getting ready for the draft.
Personal foul, face mask, kicking team number 5. 15-yard penalty from in the run. 1st down.
You know who's making noise in that far right corner? The Alabama fans were singing, "Ya na na, hey hey, goodbye."
Yeah.
Goodbye. In Death Valley.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now, but I was going to say is Brian Kelly's got to go out and recruit. I mean, you look at him in the secondary. They don't have a lot of what you would call elite SEC players in the back end. Look up front on the defensive line. I mean, they just got to get better with their personnel on that side of the football, especially.
299 total yards that Milroe has gotten against that LSU defense. Wow. Dumps it down. Williams makes the catch. All the points Alabama has needed so far in the game came on that first possession. Milroe's first touchdown run. Holly?
Well, Jalen Milroe is one of the most competitive people you'll meet. His mom, Lola, was telling a humorous story about when he was a kid, they would race to drive home. Who would get home at what time, and they would guess the time. I'll tell you more after this play.
Nussmeier will just scoot out of bounds. Go ahead, Holly.
So they're driving in the car, and if they don't get the time that little Jalen at 4 years old has guessed, he's mad. He would get so furious, and he'd say, "You went slow on purpose." He'd get mad at his parents. They said he was just very unique at a young age. He always wanted to win. He always wanted to be right, and he's looking pretty right tonight. I think he guessed the time the car was going to get home.
Well, if his folks guessed that he's going to have 299 total yards, Is he right?
Alabama historically does pretty well in Death Valley. If they win tonight, that's 6 of the last 7. Remember a couple years ago, you and I were here and saw that LSU win when they won in overtime. But tonight, it's been all Alabama.
And Nussmeier, pump fake. Flag comes out as he chucks it incomplete on the far sideline. That was in the area you'd expect it to be a hold. Here we said at the top, they've been the one program to be able to come in through the decades and handle the Tigers in this place, and physicality is the common thread, and it was again tonight.
Personal foul, hands to the face, defense number 90. 15-yard penalty, previous spot, automatic first down.
I think beyond just this game, I think when Alabama tonight has been backed into a corner, this football team, and I don't know how their next 3 weeks, you look at they're going to be heavily favored with their remaining schedule. Who knows if they get to Atlanta or not. But when they show up with a focus and an eye of the tiger approach, they're going to be tough for anybody to match up with. I think the nation was reminded tonight that Kalen DeBoer, who gets a lot of criticism trying to replace Nick Saban. Well, Nick Saban didn't wear a T-shirt, or Nick Saban didn't do this. I mean, we all knew when he stepped into that shadow, and he knew how challenging it would be. And with a couple losses, there are a lot of people saying, what the heck, what's going on with this new guy? And they've kind of sat there and endured and got stronger as a group. And I think they reminded people tonight not to count Alabama football out, ever. And definitely this year, they have a team that when they play like they did tonight, they can play with about anybody in the country.
Remember Kalen DeBoer, this is his 4th season as a head coach at a power conference level. He comes here, this staff is retooled. He only brought 2 guys from Washington. There were 2 guys holdovers at Alabama. The portal was closed by the time Saban retired and took the job. He could only get guys who had been on teams where the coach left. So they didn't really have full use of the portal. But when he really gets the portal,
his class right now, I think, is either 1 or 2, depending on which service you're looking at. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. He's going to get it rolling in Tuscaloosa with his style.
3rd and 5, pressure comes again. Nussmeier again on the move and just has to throw it out of bounds.
I just want to say one last thing about Kalen DeBoer. I think it's great. He's known last year at Washington. He's built a reputation for his offensive mind and the way he's able to lead. And you come in and he's so different in his approach, the way he handles press conferences, the way he handles everything compared to what Nick Saban did for so long. It doesn't mean it's better or worse. It's just different. But his team looked like Nick Saban type of team, like physicality, toughness, chip on their shoulder, attitude, being very, very clean on both sides of the football. So that's Kalen DeBoer doing that. He and his staff deserve a ton of credit.
Tigers need 5 on this 4th down. Nussmeier this time has time, checks it down, and it's a short pass, and Durham not going to get there.
They are not letting up, man. They don't care that they're up by 29. They are flying to the football.
I'd make it a statement.
Team on a mission.
Capital One cardholders can get their own rewarding performance when they redeem their credit card rewards for tickets to exclusive events and experiences on Capital One Entertainment. Scan the code on your screen to learn more. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Alabama takes over here. It's their 8th possession, Kirk. They've been pretty efficient, I'd say, so far. The 7 drives they've had, 5 touchdowns.
That's
all up on
good.
the ground.
That's pretty good.
Or by the quarterback. Starting offense still in the game, and off to Jam Miller, who powers downhill for 7.
It's been interesting to watch Jalen Milroe tonight. So much attention on him coming into this game. How would he play? What kind of start would he get off to? Could he get his rhythm established early? Of course he did. And once he does, how terrifying is this offense in its potential? It's all about Jalen Milroe as you look down the road at the rest of their games and potentially, of course, into the postseason. If you're defending these guys, you better stop him from getting off to a quick start with his legs. If he gets his running game going, it gets him into that groove. It establishes every aspect at this offense with Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer.
That's a great point. They knew it. The opponents knew it, but it happened right away. Of course, that burst for a touchdown. He's averaging 20 yards per designed running play tonight. 20.
I think it's beyond the numbers. It's just a feel when you're up here watching him. It's a rhythm and a flow to the offense, and it's just been on. And again, I think it starts with his ability to run those, whether it's zone read or quarterback counter, makes the defense have to keep their eyes on him. And then it opens up opportunities for other guys. I mean, they really didn't even open up Ryan Williams tonight too much. They didn't need to.
That time, Weeks was able to get him behind the line. Kind of a frustrated reaction from the linebacker. Too little, too late, as they got him for a loss on his 4th down.
That time they said, we don't care if you let him go that far. We're not letting this guy run the football. Watch these guys all say, nope, not this time. Everybody's going.
4 of them over there.
Yes. Yeah. Give it to the back. He can score, but you're not going anywhere on this one.
Talked about Milroe's work ethic. Holly talked about how early he gets to the facility. Should congratulate him. He's one of the 16 finalists for the Campbell Trophy, which is a really big deal. He's already graduated. He's an excellent student. And the 16 finalists are going to gather out in Vegas. And it's often referred to as the academic Heisman. Alabama's had a bunch of dudes nominated for it. Not a bunch, but a fair number, and only one winner. There's a long punt. Burnett knocks it way back down there. And they stumble on the return by Thomas. A 62-yard boots. Sweet home Alabama. The Tide will be heading home after a very satisfying stay-alive victory in the SEC tonight.
Saturday Night Football is presented by Capital One. What's in your wallet? In part by Bud Light, who reminds you to drink responsibly. And Taco Bell.
Racing through the raindrops to set the tone early, Jalen Milroe. Well, triple header of the SEC next week, Texas and Arkansas, noon Eastern time. It's 11 o'clock local kickoff. Old rivalry going back to the Southwest Conference. LSU heads to the Swamp to take on the Gators, and in prime time, he talked about the showdown between the Volunteers and the Dogs, who come off that loss today in Oxford. Ole Miss and Alabama, big statement wins, must-win games. And now the scene will shift to Athens, where it'll be that same MO next Saturday night.
Oh, yeah. Like you said, some rise to the occasion.
Nussmeier's short throw. Durham pays the price for picking up the yard, knocked down quickly by Jones.
What you love to see from a team, and I think it tells you a lot about the mentality, is when it's 35-6 and they're playing like it's 6-6. The Alabama defense. Look at Coach Womack there, the same kind of intensity, the same focus. They're not caught up in, hey, we're up by 29, game's over. They're playing like they're losing right now.
This will be back-to-back games, Kirk, kicking the opponent out of the end zone. Remember, they preserved that shutout against Missouri in their last game 2 weeks ago, brought the starters back in on the goal line and kept the Tigers out of the end zone. And these guys are flying around tonight like they don't want to let LSU get near the end zone.
I know. Like, you know, the last time LSU didn't score a touchdown, 2018. And it happened to be against another Alabama football team that came in here. So it's been a tough night for LSU's offense and a great night for Bama.
Talked about all the streaks. This will snap a 14-game home winning streak. They've got 15 straight wins at night coming in here. Kelly's first loss in a home night game, and that's a pick by Bray Hubbard. So a third turnover by Nussmeier, and Bray Hubbard's played a heck of a game stepping in with Keon Sabb out. Are they going to whale it off now and say incomplete?
It's just a matter of whether or not they're calling it an interception and see if he got his hands and arms underneath that. But this guy Hubbard, he seems to always be around the football. Had the interception against Missouri. Here the ball is right to him because C.J. Daniels falls. I think he got his hands underneath that. That's secured. That's an interception. Great play again by 1-8.
All smiles for Jalen Milroe. His night is complete as Ty Simpson takes over at quarterback. And Richard Young gets around the right edge. Second straight SEC win, an emphatic win where Simpson's able to come in and hand the ball off late. And Milroe didn't have to play the whole game.
Milroe, you know, he didn't even really have to do much through the air because of the way this game was going. He had so much damage on the ground. He ends up 12 of 18 for 109 yards, but completely controlling things should take his offensive line out to dinner. The way they played and the holes that they opened up, the scheme again with Nick Sheridan, Kalen DeBoer. This is a perfect game plan and executed in a tough environment. All you could ask.
He had that look in the eye pregame. You know, sometimes you don't want a quarterback to be too keyed up, but he was just bouncing around like there's energy. He was bringing a very confident.
He looked confident, and we're on a business trip. That's what he looked like.
So somebody's giving somebody the business here.
That was Major Burns, pushed a guy down. 8 and White, they're actually get him off the field. LSU coaches bring him off.
Big Miles McVay goes 342.
After the play was over, unnecessary roughness, defense number 4, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Swinson made the first push, and then 8, Burns came in as well. After the whistle, see the big lineman right there. He took exception to that. They didn't like to see McVay over top of one of their own players, so they pushed him, and it'll cost them 15.
Excuse me, Kirk. LSU's got their 3 games left at Florida. They'll be favored to beat Vandy and Oklahoma here, but they're just in the mix. Second tier in the SEC, and chances slipping away. Richard Young again around the right end. Weeks still in the game. Drives them out. The All-State bus. Caesar piloting here to Baton Rouge. What's the All-State good hands play this weekend?
Well, you know, you search around the country. There's a lot of great games, but none better than what we've seen from Jalen Milroe. His performance tonight has been outstanding. We saw it a year ago. We wondered on the road if he could get that run game going, and obviously he was able to. And these last couple years, 8 touchdowns on the ground just against LSU.
Satisfying. Against ranked teams, been really, really good at home. Away from home, you know, 1 and 2 as a starter against ranked teams. They hadn't been nearly as productive in those games away from Tuscaloosa, but this is his best road performance of his career by far.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and you look at what they're going to do. And here he is, 109 through the air. Didn't have to really do a lot, as we talked about. For the season now, that's 16. It's a record for any quarterback that's ever played in Tuscaloosa.
What'll he finish up with? I mean, I don't know how much he'll play against Mercer next week as they take on #1 team in the Southern Conference. Top 10 in the FCS, but there's a chance the tradition that I don't happen to like much, the SEC kind of virtual bye in November. All these teams take them.
Well, the lesson to be learned tonight for Alabama is show up the way you did, and emotionally when you felt questioned, when you felt like you've been backed into that corner. Show up like this with this kind of attitude. This didn't happen tonight. This happened with their approach Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. They came in here and took care of business because of what they did during the week. They're going to have to do that the rest of the. You can't celebrate, well, look what we did in Death Valley and it's over. They have to keep preparing and showing up like people don't think you can be that team. When they do, again, they can play with anybody in the country if they play with this kind of attitude and energy.
Holly, what do you think?
Well, Kirk, you're right about that, because the players I talked to from Alabama, after that second loss to Tennessee, they started to change things around the building. They started showing up early for lift. They started showing up early to meetings. They started to think that they weren't doing the little things that were allowing them to be successful and have the focus and intensity that they needed in games. They have changed internally, and it is starting to show up on the field. You are absolutely on point about that.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and I hope it continues because it's a different team. Uh-oh.
Simpson, a keeper, and ran into Weeks. Not quite the same skill set as a runner as the starter here. It was C.J. Dupree, the tight end, who's one of the guys who went vocal, went public, actually criticizing some of the things Holly was talking about. The lack of attention to detail on Alabama-like, that it slipped since Saban had left. And he said it's on the players themselves to pick it back up.
Yeah, and I mean, you could take some games. We did the Alabama-Georgia game, and we thought first half, whoa, this Alabama team. And then in the second half, they kind of took their foot off the gas. And there's the Vandy game. I mean, I just think they had to go through some adversity, new coaching staff, change of guard, new leadership, and I think they learned a lot of lessons.
Richard Young still running hard, bangs down for a first down. Well, in the SEC today, we've seen this doubleheader. Ole Miss knocking off Georgia. If you missed it earlier, just a tremendous historic win for Ole Miss. They beat a top 2 team, I think, for the second time ever. Georgia takes a second loss and heads home to take on Tennessee. And here in the Bayou, Bama flexing really from the first minutes of this game and trying to add to an emphatic result. You didn't watch much during the day. Indiana stayed unbeaten, hard-fought win over Michigan. Miami fell from the ranks of the unbeaten, losing to Georgia Tech. And Richard Young will just waltz into the end zone for a 6th rushing touchdown for Alabama tonight. And the folks who are still here supporting LSU continue to grumble. I think there's more Alabama fans in this place than LSU fans at the moment.
Yeah, I haven't seen this place look like this ever. Danny Lewis, good block there, kind of caught the edge, set the edge for a nice touchdown run. Again, that's not running up the score. That's just backup opportunities. These guys are going to come out, take advantage of the chances that they get. And Richard Young gets to the corner and says, I'll take that touchdown.
It's another chorus of the goodbye song from the Alabama fans here. Ike, you're right. I've been coming here since 1988. When the earth shook and LSU came back and beat Auburn 36 years ago. Never seen anything like this. Alabama has laid some poundings on LSU. In fact, losses of 28+ in here. The last 4 times it's happened now, guess who's been the winning team? So they've done it before. We didn't expect it tonight. Talked about what happened around the country. Cam Ward in Miami falling. Georgia Tech, just a gritty effort, almost all on the ground. Hoosiers had to battle Ohio State coming up next in the shoe for Indiana.
Did a couple weeks to prepare and get ready for that trip to Columbus. Ole Miss, man, Jackson Dart, give him a lot of credit. Had that ankle early in that game after an interception. Georgia scored. He came back, led them to a big win. Tennessee, emphatic win over Mississippi State. We'll be there next, or we'll actually be in Athens next week with Tennessee and Georgia. Another elimination game in the SEC on ABC next week in primetime.
You're right to praise Dart. He was gritty. He came back in a game after going out, but the defense of Ole Miss, my goodness, did they play well today.
Sure did.
No surprise, that's a strong unit, but they really controlled Georgia's offense. All-State presenting you the college football playoff rankings. So numbers 3 and 4 go down.
Well, question is, how far do they go down? You know, where will Georgia go now with a couple losses? Where will Miami go for the committee after their first loss? And who moves up into those spots?
Well, Texas would slide up at no lower than 3, obviously.
Indiana, a lot of people felt they were already a little bit low. You know, nice win against, I know Michigan's not a dominant team. It's still Michigan. Who played hard today on defense. Wonder where they'll go. Wonder what Indiana. You got to think Indiana will probably pop up in the rankings.
Where should they be ranked? Where would you rank them?
What were they? 8? Can you put that? Can you put that back up? We got to go to break. Billy's doing a 2-minute timeout, so we'll come back and put that graphic on.
We'll come back. I mean, I want to see where you think the Hoosiers should be ranked.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then we'll get McAfee on the phone.
Camera.
See what Pat thinks.
See that camera? Cinematic view. It's beautiful. There it is again. Boy, look at this. The play caller from up in the box. He's downstairs. Flat-handed.
He's down here taking a victory lap down there. Well done tonight. These LSU fans, mercifully, just 2 minutes to go here. Nussmeier in the pocket, still hanging in, and delivers a pass underneath. And that's Caleb Jackson.
What's better, you think, if you're on the road in a big game? The guy that's upstairs who had a heck of a night calling plays downstairs was still a little under 2 minutes to go. That's better, or an empty stadium, or an empty.
Yeah, let's check in with the Alabama coaches.
Yeah, we've got an empty box.
There's a guy up there in the.
The guy up there is, I think he's just cleaning up after the coaches.
Well, the Tide cleaned up, and it is a very satisfying thing. You don't get many chances in this conference to go on the road, empty the building like they did. It began in the third quarter, and then have a pep rally down there in the corner.
That's a great shot of Milroe with Nick Sheridan. Yeah, again, when you play or coach at Alabama, you're going to feel that heat, right? Just like LSU's going to feel it this week.
Ooh, yes.
And you could see that embrace of that's what I'm talking about type of embrace with Sheridan and Milroe putting it together tonight.
Lacey makes the catch, goes to a knee. The post-game radio talk shows will be lively tonight in Baton Rouge. There's going to be some folks who have been overserved, who are frustrated, angry, and there's going to be a lot of fingers pointed. The quarterback will feel some heat. The defensive staff will feel some heat. These folks have big expectations for the season, and rightfully so. But this was a shocker.
They do call a show after the game?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Those would be rough. How'd you like to host that show?
Well,
I did that early in my career.
You feed into the fury of the folks, and you let them vent, is what you do, right?
Yeah.
You did that.
Foul.
That's all you can do.
Defense number 94. The 15-yard penalty will be enforced into the run. Automatic first down.
Edric Hill flagged for roughing Nussmeier.
Like I said, I think anytime you lose, you're going to feel that. Just like anybody who knew Kalen DeBoer when he was going through it, he's a good coach. He's going to work his way out. Brian Kelly's a great coach. He's going to work his way out of it. Blake Baker's a great coach as a defensive coordinator. The bottom line is this is the roster you have to work with. You got to do the best you can. But anybody who's watched LSU football over the last 30, 40 years or longer, and you look at the standard of what their alumni and former players expect, and you look at what they have currently on this roster, it's just not. It's not the level at all the positions of what you expect. Offensive line, I know they, on paper, they're great. They got dominated up front. Defensive line got dominated up front. Secondary, they need better players in the secondary. It's just a reality. It's where they are right now. Got to go out and recruit.
No, the complaint for Kelly was his team wasn't finishing well. They didn't start tonight. Alabama dominant really from the first minutes physically. Nussmeier still in the game, takes another shot as Lacey makes the catch. Bama desperately trying to keep LSU out of the end zone here. Shades of what they did against Missouri in their last game. Down to 21 seconds.
You got backups in for Alabama, a lot of the starters still in for LSU, and a lot of pride on the line out there at 42-6.
These backups are playing like the conference titles on the line. The defense. Look at this pressure. Wow. Nussmeier flips it into the end zone again. Heavy pressure. They're just bringing an all-out blitz. If they're going to leave the starting quarterback in, I guess they're going to keep blitzing him.
Yeah, well, they walked 8 up, and they brought 8. 8 guys that time. Kane Womack, he's saying, wait a second, game's over. They're still out there with their starters. They're still throwing the ball. I'm going to dial it up. And another thing, finish on LSU, you know, Brian Kelly, you can get things fixed in a hurry when it comes to improving your roster. NIL, transfer portal. It's not like you have to go out and just count on rebuilding it from the ground up.
Alabama crowd making noise on the road against the home offense here as the Tide trying to keep LSU from scoring. There's an end zone throw, and coming back and making the catch for a touchdown is Lacey. So a very, very late touchdown by the Tigers as they find the end zone for the first time, and that's the first touchdown Alabama's given up now in the last 2 games.
Yeah, again, they walk up 8. They just get a one-on-one opportunity. That's against a true freshman. back shoulder.
Did he have control as he went down to the ground? Villamagna says, yeah, nod of the head.
That's perfectly placed there. Thought we'd see more of that tonight.
Yeah, knees did get down.
Yep.
Took a long time, Kirk, for them to finally throw the first completion to Lacey. The receivers were just not a big factor at all tonight in the passing game for the Tigers. Womack's defense showed up, showed out. So get Mercer next, and then a visit to Norman, Oklahoma, and then the Iron Bowl against Auburn, which has had a struggled season. It's always a
they'll be
fired up game.
Heavy favorites.
Yes.
The rest of their games they have.
Monday Night Football. The Dolphins, starving for a win at this point, take on the Rams in Los Angeles. Monday Night Countdown at 6 o'clock. And then the ball game at 8 on ESPN Deportes, and also
what a win last week by the Rams and Matthew Stafford in Seattle. They've kind of been able to find themselves here now that they've gotten healthier out on the perimeter. They are a fun team to watch when they have all their pieces clicking.
Well, we talked about the old loser leaves town like old-time wrestling. LSU got hit over the head by a folding chair and thrown over the top rope tonight in their own backyard. And hit with a pile driver or two along the way. Alabama still has the 2 conference losses, but is still in the race. LSU dropping really to second-tier status in an uphill fight with the Bayou Bengals.
Yeah, this is one of those losses for Brian Kelly when he goes into that locker room to address his team. It's a gut check. It's a gut check. Still, if you think about it, you go to 6-3. Forget about the playoff. Forget about all that talk. It's more about, okay, let's look at this week. Let's look at getting better this week. Let's look the next week, and look at the rest of their season. If they're able to get things in order, they can still have a good year. It's not of course, their goals are always going to be the playoff, but you just don't want to lose the season after a devastating loss like this.
And for the Tide, they come to Tiger Town and make an emphatic statement for the first minutes of the game. Jalen Milroe had that look and had the fresh legs. He had the juice back, and the bye week helped in that department, and he was dominant tonight. 4 more for number 4, 8 in 2 years on the ground for Alabama's quarterback. And let's get Kalen DeBoer's reaction to this big win with Holly.
Well, Coach, it's your first taste of this LSU-Alabama rivalry. How were you able to silence Death Valley tonight?
Started fast, and I just felt like all week long there was a sense of confidence that we were developing. Every day we got better, and proud of the way we came out. The little plays at the beginning, the little things led to what you see on the scoreboard.
You challenged your quarterback at the beginning of this game. You said he's got to use his legs. That was the difference in this game. How proud are you of the way he was able to read when and how to do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And just the different elements, the noise, lot that you got to manage, when you're the quarterback. And then for him to go make all those plays just says a lot about the fight he has. I'm very proud of him.
Coach, this has been an interesting season. You're taking over for a legend. This game, a lot of legends are born in this game. What do you walk off the field feeling tonight?
Well, we're going to enjoy it for about 2 seconds here. We know we got a lot left in the month of November here to reach our goals, and it was another step. I think a couple weeks ago we took 1 step and we took another. We're understanding how important the process is to going out and playing really good football on Saturdays. And, we just got to keep getting better. And, there's more left out there.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm going to bring in the man of the hour, Jalen. Hi. Early in this ball game, you rip off a 39-yard touchdown run. What did you see on that play? Because that set the tone for this whole game.
No, absolutely. I think the biggest thing was that trusting our blocks. It come from preparation. We're just reading the gaps. Just trusting in the opposite line and also a running back when it comes to quarterback runs. What's up, my boy? Pull the volume, my boy. Love, bro. I think it's so important just to trust the guys up front. And I know that, they're going to do all in their power to do what's best for offense.
This is a line of scrimmage game typically, and your offensive line was dominant up there. How were you able to read off of them and their physicality to get almost 200 yards rushing tonight, Jalen?
I think the number one thing when you go on the road is communication. Communication is so important for us, and that was the emphasis going into the week. We had to be the most prepared team when it comes to communication. It was a key resource for us in this football game.
Tonight was Military Appreciation Night. I was able to talk to your mom and dad up in the stands. How have they poured into you, served this country, and it make it even more special tonight?
I got to credit them. They're very unique individuals. I love them a lot. I appreciate them. For all the active duty members and people that serve our country, I want to show great appreciation to you. And appreciate y'all so much for what you do for our country. But for my family, I appreciate y'all so much for what y'all did, the sacrifices and the commitment that y'all made for this country, and then also just get the win for them today.
All right, thank you, Jalen.
Thank you. Roll Tide!
It's a great message, a timely one, of course, on this weekend, and for him, a resounding statement made, as he said, right from the opening moments of this game when his touchdown scamper set the tone. The analytics, as I said, never sleep, and this is updated to the minute. Best chance to make the SEC title game.
Big jump.
Texas has that game in College Station, Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah, Bama shoots way up there.
You and your analytics teams, still don't have Georgia on the board there, huh?
Hey, we don't have anything to do with this. Dogs fans, we will see you next week. They'll climb on the board if they knock off Tennessee, and Tennessee will fall off that. So, as Kalen DeBoer said, still a lot to go here in the final weeks, but this kind of was a crystallizing day in the SEC, and Ole Miss and Bama made some big statements.
Yeah, congrats to Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss. That was an impressive win, and we talked about it throughout the broadcast. These teams in these must-win situations, they show up with a little bit of an extra edge, at least in Ole Miss and Alabama's case. And I love the answer when Holly was talking to Kalen DeBoer about, we're going to enjoy this for about 2 seconds. That tells you the focus of where this team is with those 2 losses. Put LSU behind us, what's next? Put that one behind us, what's next? This team, again, when they play the way they did tonight and they prepare the way they did tonight, it's going to be a tough out for anybody.
That's a coach's approach. I'm glad he didn't say we got Mercer, a good Mercer team coming up. They do have Mercer, and that's a good program at the FCS level. That's Mercer at Oklahoma and then Auburn home. The only bummer is Q Robinson would appear to be a
tough
gnarly-looking wrist injury. A fine linebacker for Alabama tonight. 42-6 is the final for the Tide here in Tiger Stadium. Bill Bennell produced the game. Jimmy Platt directed it. Our excellent crew working through the rain tonight. We appreciate them. Except on the West Coast, stay tuned for your local news or most of these ABC stations. So for Holly Roker, Curb Street, Bill LeMonnier, our entire crew here in Baton Rouge, Chris Fowler saying so long. We will see you in Athens for the Dogs and the Balls next Saturday night.
Thank you for watching this presentation of the Southeastern Conference on ABC.